Good evening, everybody! Welcome to International Sim Racing Organization's second round of the Lucas Vidra Trophy, coming to you from Mount Panorama. Cars are currently in their qualifying session, so we'll get a chance to see some hot laps. And I'm joined in the booth via his car by Jonatan Acerclinth. Jonatan, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty decent here. Trying to get a good lap in. Got a decent banker lap in. Just need to find another few tenths and I'll be very happy. But yeah, really looking forward to this one. It'll be a lot of good fun.
Yes, this is the second round in our Lucas Vidra Trophy. A trophy that we've created in tribute to a good friend of ours that we lost too soon. And this race today at Mount Panorama is going to be half the distance of a 1,000 race, 80 laps. And we're going to have solo driving from all the competitors, I believe. But no less the excitement, I'm sure. This is going to be a real stonker, as our friend Johnny Aces loves to say.
Very much so. It'll be a very tight one. While qualifying is a little bit stretched out in the race, everyone will be looking after their tires and cars, and it'll certainly be a long race for everyone to try and reach the finish.
As Jonathan comes into the pits right now, let's have a look at who else is out on track. Here's Richard Wilkes driving the Oryx-sponsored Audi A4. This is probably the car that you see most in photographs from this era.
Certainly from this championship.
Yes. On the backside of the circuit here, going up the hill up to Skyline. This is probably one of the more treacherous parts of the circuit. We'll be talking more about that later. But we're really happy to bring this race to you here at ISO. Got period-correct banners and period-correct cars. And that's what we're all about, recreating historic events as best we can. And even though this is just half the distance, I think you'll find we're pretty authentic where physics and realism are concerned.
I would certainly say so. These cars drive very much like I'd expect at least the front-wheel drives to drive. With my limited experience of rear-wheel and four-wheel drive like the Audi has, I can't really speak too much about those, but certainly this Peugeot drives very much like I expected to do for a front-wheel drive car.
Alright, so while we have a moment, let's take a look at the points situation for the Lucas Vidra Trophy going into today's race. After just one round, we've got ties for first, third, and fifth. Pascal Mikola and Tiago Canola share the top spot with 15 points apiece. Jason Whitehead and Cesarius Lipinski share third place with 12 points, and then sharing fifth place are David Jakes and Richard Wilkes with 10 points apiece. And that's owing to the fact that there were two different classes in the first race, am I correct?
Yep, as we did the Nürburgring prototype and GT event. That is why there's two different point standings, since GTs can't really campaign against prototypes when it comes to endurance racing.
All right, so also to remind everybody of what the points scheme is for the Lucas Vidra Trophy. First place gets 15 points, second 12, third place 10 points, 9 for fourth, 8 for fifth, and then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for 6 through 10. So let's take a look at the track map itself. A track that is right up on the top of the list of like the Nürburgring and Monza for famous tracks, I would think. This is a track that everybody loves. Mount Panorama, Bathurst. 2 straights and a pit straight, and then you have the top part of the mountain with really diabolical curves. Definitely going to be a big test of everyone's driving skill today.
Both driving skill and endurance, I would say. Being as everyone, for the moment at least, looks to be doing it as a single driver. That's approximately 3 hours 15 minutes where people will be driving, well, maybe not always all out, but very near the limit. And around here, any hiccup in concentration will cause quite humongous troubles for you.
One other thing to point out with this track, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Jonathan, since you're the expert in these cars, you have really a situation where you can set up your car to do well, I would guess, on either the straights or on the twisty bits. And maybe that's me speaking from ignorance as an oval racer and as primarily open wheeler. But talk about the compromise that you have to make between the long straights, getting that speed, and then handling wise on the top of the mountain. Is there a compromise there?
There certainly is to some extent. You can't really change the wing settings, for example, like you would do on the oval cars. But the way you would do it is like changing the ride height and the tire pressures. So if you run higher tire pressures, you would get less contact patch on the straight, giving you a bit more top-end speed. But counteracting that would be that in the turns you don't have as much contact patch, so you can't take the corners quite as quickly. So it'll certainly be, and of course also with like how you set up the suspension and gearing and stuff as well for how you want the car to drive, because you can have on the straights where you accelerate very quickly down the straights, but when you're in the twisty bits you'll be slightly in between gears. So it'll be a tricky one, and we'll probably see a bit of both from the different drivers. And obviously the cars also have slightly different amounts of power and torque to work with, and also different aero. For example, you have the Volvo 850, which, just like the old Group A 240, is more or less a brick on wheels.
Flying brick, yeah.
Yeah, compared to, I don't know, let's say the Renault, which is very, very streamlined and very neat to look at.
And we're joined in the booth by also Alberto Ibañez. Alberto, good evening.
Good evening, everybody. This time I'm not going to be in the booth, but in the cockpit.
Yes, we'll be keeping a close eye on your progress. How's the
I hope not, because I don't feel any quick at all for this evening. But I mean, this track is absolutely wonderful, and the company is beautiful. But yeah, please don't keep an eye on me.
So the House of Ibañez has been. I know that you had internet troubles last week, but hopefully those have all been cleared up.
So far, so good. I mean, we're having good high-speed connection, and I hope we will be doing a nice race today. But well, fingers crossed.
All right, so we're continuing with qualifying. Looking at the leaderboard right now, Juha Boss is the quickest driver on the circuit, followed by Tiago Canola, Johnny Aces, Dave Miller, Tim Hilla, Jason Whitehead, Alberto Aquino, Jakob Fredriksson, Steve Parker, and Mick Chapman. Those are your top 10 right now in qualifying, and we got about 9 minutes to go. So we talked about the endurance aspect of this circuit. We can also talk about the fuel aspect, which is going to play a role in this circuit, or this particular race. If you have a thirsty car, or if you are really, really pushing it, there's a chance that you'll have to make 3 stops in this race. Not for a full tank, maybe a splash and dash at the end. If, on the other hand, you try to drive within yourself and try to conserve, you may actually be able to make it on 2 stops. Jonathan, who do you think is going to be playing the fuel-saving strategy, and who do you think is going to be just going all out?
Very tricky to say. I think I will be somewhere in the middle. Like I will be trying to look after the car, but considering how quick some of the other cars, like the Works Peugeot and the Nissan that is ahead of me in qualifying at the moment here, they are probably gaining like 3-4 kilometers an hour down the straight, so I will have to be a bit more forceful over the mountain to keep up.
All right, so we're starting a lap now with Brian Janik as he goes into the first turn, Hell Corner. And now we're starting the climb up the hill. going down the or up the mountain straight. And on a map, this straight looks pretty straight and narrow, but then, of course, right after we get past this Lube Mobile sign here, there's a big drop, which is going to provide some excellent shots. Then we come into turn 2, which is Quarry Bend. This is relatively quick. Oh, Brian letting the back end hang out a little bit as you now continue climbing up the hill through turns 3 and 4, the fourth one being the cutting, which is really sharp back to the left. This is a fun turn to take. Coming out of the cutting, continuing uphill through Griffin's Mount. And now we go into well, Brian has decided that he doesn't want to go through Griffin's Mount. Okay, let's see who else we can find here. All right, here we go. Here's Cezary Slipinski just entering Quarry Bend. So we'll pick up there where we left off with Brian. Exiting Quarry Bend and continuing uphill, now into turn 3 and 4, the cutting being the sharp one that sharply goes uphill. As I mentioned, that's a fun corner to take, as if you bury the car right down in the apex.
It's a black corner, so it's very tricky.
So then back to the right for Griffin's Mount, and then a little right-left switchback, and now we come through the complex of 7, 8, 9, and 10. Reed Park, Salmon Park, and McPhillamy Park, and this is very critical. You can see right there on the right-hand side of the screen where the cars have scraped the wall. This is threading the needle. If you get this wrong, you're in big trouble. Now we're at the Skyline straight, and now begins the big drop down the hill through the S's.
This chicane is actually where most time is made up.
Yes, the dipper right here. And this is a place where we're going to see probably some cars flat spot the tires because of the leaving of the ground. And look at how much Slipinski is correcting the car as we come into what is called Forest's Elbow, turn 18, now turn 19, onto the famous Conrad Straight. Heading down the mountain now. And just after we get past this AMP bridge, you'll see what is called the Chase, a diabolical shift to the right, and then everyone's going to be really hard on the brakes for the next left-hander. And you can see how much...
see here that some cars are braking before the elbow, and some cars are actually braking after that. So that's a good indication both of the quality of the car and the driver.
So now coming down out of the Chase for the final left-hand corner on the circuit, Murray's Corner, the 23rd and final corner on this amazing Mount Panorama circuit. Really one of a kind. Nothing like this track.
Yes, the English saying goes, this is a mountain to climb. So I think it fits perfectly what you are going to do here, because it's absolutely amazing. It's a beautiful track, really scenic, up and down, high speed. I think it's got everything.
We want to welcome all of our viewers on YouTube as well, and echo some of the comments that have been made there. Yes, we hope everybody is staying safe and healthy during the crisis that we're dealing with. It's certainly been a brave new world for everybody, but we're hoping that today you can forget a bit about your troubles and enjoy some first-class sim racing. Oh my goodness, as Slipinski slaps the wall at the cutting. So in addition to being a blind corner, that's one you can probably be a little over-optimistic on, Jonatan.
Oh, that's certainly true, especially if you try to take the corner a bit too tightly.
Yeah.
And I must say the pace is blistering. I just set a PB for myself and I'm only third here.
Yeah, Tiago Canola is now first on the leaderboard with Dave Miller, yourself, Yuha Boss, Richard Coxon, Tim Hilla, Jason Whitehead, Steve Parker, Alberto Aquino, and Jakob Fredrickson. Yes, the pace is fast and furious. We have 3 minutes and change to go in qualifying. Let's actually bring up the times here for everybody to have a look at.
Yes, and regarding the fuel strategy that you were both talking about a bit earlier, you can see that between the top of the board, 2 minute 15.5,
yes,
and the last qualified, which is at the moment 2.20, which is more or less the time that I would be doing, and that's what I'm not going to bother qualifying, because my 2-year-old BMW is going to give me just that last of the grid spot anyway. So I'm going to play the different card, which is regularity and only 2 stops. But regarding what you were saying, there is a difference of 5 seconds between the top and the last of the grid, and that will also equally translate probably into race pace. So with 80 laps to go, that means that 80 times 5, it's about 400 seconds, which gives you a lot of room to play with the pit stop if you are considering the last qualified. But it's not so much when you're considering the people that are chasing you. So it's a matter of the drivers actually making a bit of a gamble there, because everybody knows how much it takes to go through a pit stop there and how much an extra pit stop will put you down, both in race pace and also in terms of the wasted time that you are in the pits. So people will be basically gambling about it.
A little bit of Las Vegas in Australia today.
It be.
All right, so while we have a minute, let's take a look at what's coming up in the future here at ISO. Next Sunday, we go back Formula One racing, the Grand Prix of Mexico. And I'll be bringing that to you live. This is round 6 of 16, Sunday, April 12th. Green light at 2000 hours CET. That should be a really interesting race. The point situation is tightened up a bit there, I think. So we'll see what happens there. And then we have more touring car action. This is the Australian Super Touring Championship proper. Something to remember that this particular race, this Lucas Vidra Trophy race today, does not count for points in the ASTC. This is going to be a one-off race for that trophy itself. But we go back racing proper for that championship on Wednesday, April 15th at Lakeside International Raceway. That's rounds 13 and 14 of 16. Check the forum for the schedule. And looking a little further down the schedule, on Sunday, April 26th, the next round of the 1974 USAC National Championship. It's my home track, the Michigan 200 from Brookline. Going to be a really interesting race, essentially fighter jets going in circles. It's going to be lots of fun. So that's a look at what's coming up at ISO in the next few weeks. We got some good camera angles for this circuit, too. Some good chopper shots. So it's going to be an excellent broadcast, I think, for everybody.
Yeah, that's certainly one of the best sides of this track in terms of, I mean, it's great to drive, but also they've replicated many of the real-life camera angles. For example, you have one on the inside of the cutting, where you more or less get to see the car from up on top, so to speak. It's really interesting to see the cars in that way. It's very unusual for you to actually get that kind of angle to see the cars at.
All right, well, we've got zeros on the clock now. And Jonathan's heading in, and if nothing happens in the next few seconds, it looks like Thiago Canola will be on the pole.
Well, it'll be
nice
up
and seeing.
to...
What a versatile driver.
Certainly. It'll be up to Saber and Yannick, I think, to possibly do something about it. I think they are the only two drivers still out on track.
Miller's in the garage. You're in the garage. Most everybody's in the garage.
Yep, one more coming up. That's Gabriel Sturr to finish his qualifying.
And Gabriel places 11th. So the top 10 are Thiago Canola at 2 minutes, 15.55 seconds. Dave Miller second. Jonatan Acerclinth third. Juha Boss in fourth. Richard Coxon in fifth. Alberto Aquino in sixth. So he jumped way up the standings there. Tim Hilla in seventh. You may remember him from the F191 series. Usually we see him in a Modena. But here he's doing pretty good for BM Motorsport Australia. So nicer mount here than he has in F1. Jason White at 8th. Steve Parker, 9th, and Jakob Fredriksson rounding out the top 10. 11th, Gabriel Sturr. 12th, David Saber. 13th, Richard Wilkes. 14th, Cesarius Slipinski. 15th, Mick Chapman. 16th, Pascal Mikola. 17th, Brian Janik. 18th, Ray Radal. 19th, Raul Yareb. 20th, Bruno Chacon. And with no time, that's also Bruno has no time because he didn't take one. And Alberto, as you said, you're going to be starting at the back. So we move to the warm-up session now.
Yeah, and I'm going to leave you because I want to get a bit familiar with the car, with the heavy weight of the fuel. So, good race to everybody, and hope to see you back later.
All right, good luck to you, Alberto.
User disconnected from your channel.
And so the driver's briefing is ongoing here, but looking at what time Thiago set in qualifying here, if he's able to get anywhere near that in race pace, it'll be very difficult to stop him today.
Yes, I think, as is the case in any motor racing, qualifying's one matter, the actual race is another thing altogether. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. While the briefing is going on, the actual warm-up is going to be taking 15 minutes or so. We're going to take a commercial break. We'll be right back after these messages. Don't go away.
If you rent a car from Budget, we now guarantee that our fleet is 100% smoke-free. And isn't that a fresh idea? Unfortunately, most of our competitors can't say the same. People still smoke in their cars. And it doesn't matter how much you clean a car after someone's had a cigarette in it. The stale smell lingers, doesn't it? And it gets onto you, your clothes, your hair. So if you don't want your rental car to smell like an old ashtray, you'd better call Budget. Here's the number. Budget, all the difference in the world.
Did you use the GTX?
Boss, that GTX costs a few bucks extra, so I got to thinking, maybe...
Bruno, this car cost me a lot of dough, and I ain't risking it to save a couple of lousy bucks, okay?
Yeah.
It's the best. Get it.
Yeah. Oils ain't oils.
If your car's worth a couple of extra bucks, it's worth Castrol GTX.
All new from the ground up, riding on a wider, more stable track. With an all-new, stronger body, giving you handling and control like never before. Independent rear suspension and new high-performance brakes are standard on every model. The radically new Holden Commodore gives you the driving edge.
To become an Australian legend takes years of dedication and experience, a desire to keep pushing the boundaries of performance, not forgetting the luxury of the latest quality appointments. It's no wonder the Europeans are sitting up and taking notice. Test drive the new HSV VT at your HSV retailer and discover what's captured the imagination of Australia's most demanding drivers.
Style is a very personal thing. It's not just about looks. It's about presence and quality. Good style has to stem from good quality. You express yourself with style. But what looks good on you won't necessarily work for everyone. That's why Holden is all sorts of cars for all sorts of people.
For over 40 years, the Holden Ute's been a legend. And now it's even better, with more power and comfort than ever before. It'll work hard all day and play hard all night. The new Holden Ute V6 or V8.
Struck it lucky today.
Yeah, I reckon. A legend for generations.
We gave the finest automobile in the world driver and passenger airbags, front and rear crumple zones, a steel-reinforced cabin. And then we looked at safety from another angle. The 1997 LS400. See your Lexus dealer where value surrounds you on all sides.
So what you're telling me then, Dick, is it's scientifically formulated?
And technically advanced, Barry. Grab this, Barry.
So Shell Helix is thin enough to give the engine maximum performance.
Mm-hmm.
And it's thick enough to give any engine maximum protection.
Yep, it adjusts itself to any engine.
So therefore, it's thick and thin at the same time. How can that work?
It seems to work for him, Baz. Must be chemistry.
Shell Helix, because performance is everything.
Raw, gut-wrenching, pure pulse-racing, adrenaline-pumping exhilaration. Toyota Starlet, exactly the same. Colour.
From $13,990 drive away, and for a limited time with free air. Toyota Starlet. The gutsiest little car in the world.
And we are back. Oh, goodness. Look out, Alberto. All right, so we got about 9 minutes to go. So other than checking out how their cars are doing on full tanks, what are the drivers up to, Jonathan?
It's mainly trying to, as you say, get a feel for how the car feels. Many will have driven with at least half a tank, maybe even less. It's also a question of getting used to the braking points, because those extra 80 kilos makes a big difference in when you need to actually start braking for the turns. And of course also possibly trying a start or two just to know that they won't at least stall the car altogether off the start, because as the grid is very tight, if you do stall it could turn into quite a traffic jam.
I would think so. Looking at Alberto now on track, he's driving a BMW. According to my notes, the most dangerous place for the BMW is the McPhillamy Skyline Dipper section.
Yes.
And why is that?
Mainly because the BMW has to drive in the rear, so it has quite good balance. But the problem is, because you have to drive in the rear, if it does break loose up there, it's very difficult to get it back. So you need to be very, very smooth with your inputs going over the top of the mountain to make sure you don't overdo it and end up with more trouble than you bargained for.
Also, I think it's probably fair to assume that the most dangerous part for everybody, regardless of which wheels are driving the car, would be the section of the Chase and Conrad Strait where you're shutting off for there, because different people are going to have different shut-off points. We're probably going to see a few hair-raising moments there, I would think.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Especially where the way the brakes gets very warm in that braking zone, no matter when you begin to brake. So if you get a bit overzealous and think, I'll try to outbrake the car in front of me, it'll be okay, and you brake 2 columns later than you usually do, there is a very high possibility that you'll go straight on and possibly take 1 or 2 drivers with you. Very nearly similar to how Mark Winterbottom almost took with him another competitor in the V8 supercars in the, I think it was 2005 or 2006 Bathurst 1000.
Steve Parker braking here for the Chase. Very good execution there. Yeah, doing that correctly 80 times in a row is I think, going to be a tall order for a lot of people here.
That's definitely true. It's a tall order to do 10 laps in a row.
All right, so 6 minutes to go now. Real quickly, let's tell everybody what today's trivia question is. The trivia question. Jeff and David Brabham won the 1997 AMP Bathurst 1000 driving what make and model of car? Was it A, a Volvo 850, B, a Vauxhall Vector, or C, a BMW 320i? We'll have the answer later in the broadcast. So I think definitely, Jonathan, the story of who's going to do well in this race not only comes down to who has the better car, but also who has the best racecraft.
Partly that, and just like they say in real life as well, which drivers actually respect the mountain and give it the extra space it will need.
Yeah, certain circuits demand a certain level of respect. And I think this is definitely one of those. If you don't respect this place, it will reach out and just grab you. And definitely either make a fool out of you or make you respect it at that point, for sure. Other tracks that are in that segment are probably the Nürburgring for Formula One and Darlington Raceway for NASCAR.
Certainly.
If you don't respect the track, you're doing so at your own peril.
Very much so. Very few have actually succeeded in not respecting those tracks mentioned without ending up in some kind of issue along the way.
A reminder to our viewers that next Sunday we're going to be going back to Formula One, the Grand Prix of Mexico, and I'll be broadcasting that live on this channel. It's round 6 of 16. Sunday, April 12th, green light at 2000 CET. A very bumpy circuit, the Rodriguez circuit, isn't it, Jonathan?
Well, it's bumpy, and you will need to run fairly low wings because of that front stretch, and that will cause some distress in the back part of the track. So very similar to this Bathurst one, where you will need to try and compromise between straight line speed and being able to actually take the turns at a quick enough pace to actually keep up with everyone else.
Yeah, it's true. There are similarities there. One other thing, taking care of the brakes in this race is going to be a critical challenge. I would imagine that over the course of 80 laps, some people might experience brake fade issues.
It is certainly going to be something that will happen, especially if you run a long time behind someone else and you get a bit of extra heat, a bit of extra speed into the turn, so you need to scrub off more speed before you actually can take the turn you're going for, which will probably see one or two drivers either, as you say, experience brake fade or simply have the brakes fail altogether.
I think you were also right on the first one, brain fade as well.
Fair enough, yeah.
That might also happen.
Well, it depends on how good a fortitude everyone has.
True. Another thing to point out, pit stop windows are generally going to be 27 to 30 laps apart. Something to keep in mind. And also, one other thing to point out is that it takes longer to fuel the car than it does to change tires. So we're probably going to see people going for new sets of tires every time they stop, unless it is one of these splash and dashes at the end. They may try to just go for it.
Yes, because the tires generally will do quite a few laps, but it's all down to how many laps you actually dare let the tires do, because suddenly they will somewhat fall off a cliff.
So,
in terms of performance.
So a minute and change to go before the race here. Are we going to be having a lap reconnaissance?
Yes, we do.
Okay, that's good. So we can use that for the going through the grid for everybody to refamiliarize everyone with where their favorite drivers are.
And what their cars looks like.
Yes, and I want to give a special shout out to Jonatan for actually being in the booth with me via his car. please feel free to mute me whenever you want during the race, because I want to make sure we don't distract you. But we do appreciate your insights, especially since you know this series better than anybody in our broadcast team. So we really, really appreciate your insights. It's making the broadcast that much better.
It's a pleasure for me. And what I was laughing at there was Jacob said in the chat there that this is going to be a fantastic race. Thanks for hosting. And it's certainly our pleasure to be able to bring this race and these kind of races to everyone to enjoy, both those watching the broadcast and those partaking in the race. It's one of the great bits of the sim racing world that you can do these kind of things.
Yeah, I can't speak for the others, but I get just as much enjoyment out of broadcasting these races as I do driving in them.
For sure.
It's a lot of fun.
I agree. I agree completely.
All right, so zeros are on the clock, and that means we're going to be going to the race session momentarily. 80 laps around Mount Panorama. Get ready for high drama and door-banging action. This is going to be great.
It certainly is. And it'll be of nervous times going into turn 1 on lap 1. Opening laps will be a lot of adrenaline in everyone. Last few checks. That's correct. That's correct. That's right. That is. That's. Yeah. Yep.
All right, so the cars are...
So Richard just let us know that it may not be a formation lap, just so everyone is prepared for it, just in case.
Oh, goodness. All right.
So
well,
worst
you got
case scenario, you can run through everyone during the opening laps.
All right, well, we've got Tiago on the pole. Oh, yes, we're going straight. Race is going straight to the start. And the race is underway at Mount Panorama. Tiago gets a good getaway, but look at who's right alongside there. Dave Miller looks like he's going to go for the inside, but no, Tiago's got, slight contact. Oh, no. Miller going off the track, and we got more cars losing equipment in the back. Tiago Canola drops back to third place, and we've got 3 cars battling for the lead. Juha Boss on the inside in his Peugeot. As we head for Quarry Bend, it is Juha Boss leading. Jonatan Acerclinth in second. Tiago Canola's in third. Richard Cox in fourth. Steve Parker fifth. Jakob Fredriksson is in sixth place. Dave Miller down to seventh. And he's probably going to be nursing that car now because of damage. So, my goodness, there's a reason they call that Hell Corner. As we go through the cutting now, Juha continuing to lead. My goodness. Very hair-raising start there, Jonatan.
Yeah, certainly one of those things, I think. Looked like Tiago hit the inside curb a little bit on turning, and that spat him out into Dave, and neither of them had anywhere to go.
As we head to Skyline for the first time, and now down through the S's into the Dipper. It's Juha leading, Jonatan right behind him in second place, Tiago's in third, Richard Cox in fourth, Steve Parker is fifth. And if you thought that start was exciting, wait till we get to Conrad Straight and the chase. That ought to be... As Jonatan hits the wall just slightly there, loses a couple of spots to Tiago, but that looked like a light tap.
Hopefully that shouldn't affect it too badly, but I lose a lot of places down the straight here.
Coxon going for the overtake into second place as they head to the chase, but Canola looks like he's going to hang on to it as they go through the chase. This is going to be a very critical point as we get the wide shot here, as you see everybody coming through, different shutoff points. Everybody's going to have to be very, very careful. And my goodness, we have an incident further back in the in the pack. Oh, and Richard Wilkes has spun around, and it looks like Brian Janik also has a problem. And it's not easy to get through the dirt here. Pascal Mikola is also involved, so several cars having trouble with the chase on the first attempt. Last car through, Bruno Chacon. So here we go, lap number 2 now. Juha leading. Tiago Canola in second. Richard Coxon is in third. Riding on board with Richard, so that first attempt didn't quite work as they come down the mountain straight into turn number 2, Quarry Bend. Long, long way to go still. And definitely people were interested in maintaining or gaining positions on that start. Maybe were a bit too anxious, some of them. Looking back through the pack, here's Dave Miller trying to carve his way back through the field, and he's got Steve Parker right in front of him. Looks like he's got a bit of speed, and Fredrickson is right on the back bumper of Miller, so as much as he'd like to get past Steve Parker, he's got to worry about Fredrickson right behind him. And as we've seen in ISO racing in the past and racing in other leagues, Fredrickson is excellent in just about any car. As they are at the Skyline now heading into the S's downhill. This is a place where we might see some people flat spot tires. We'll have to keep a very close eye. Continuing down the hill. And now on to the famous Conrad Straight. Miller pulling out a bit of a gap there. We'll see if he can challenge Steve Parker here for 4th place as they come down the straight. He has a bit of a roll on Steve, but I don't think he's going to have the space to do it. Oh, but he's going to give it a shot. They go into the chase. Oh, just not enough room there. But thankfully, he's able to haul it to a stop without much problem. Let's take another wide look at the chase here to see people coming through. Boss leads. Canola 2nd. Coxon 3rd. Parker 4th. Dave Miller. Well, Dave Miller actually is now up to 4th place. Oh, goodness! He just overtook Steve Parker into Murray's Corner. We missed it. Let's run back and have a look at that. After the chase, this is a replay of the overtake that has happened. Yeah, he gets him on the outside. A little bit of rubbing the fenders there, but Miller just overhauled him on the outside, up on 2 wheels. Excellent. A bit hair-raising, but he gets the job done. Nice job, Dave. But this isn't over yet. He's got Parker right behind him and Fredrickson as they go into Quarry Bend. Meanwhile, Boss is still out in front in his Peugeot. And Canola's right behind him. Canola was the pole sitter for this race, so we'll see what happens here. Probably biding his time right now because we know Canola is very, very fast. Juha is always very self-effacing about his driving. He's typically the guy who says, well, I'll be crashing out in a few laps. But we all know that Tiago is a lot better than that. Now we're heading into the downhill section through the S's. You can see how lots of adjustment has to be made through this back, forth, left, right. You're definitely, it's like a ski slalom through here in terms of driving.
Yep. You're certainly having to do a lot of work, a lot of inputs. Just trying to keep your car in as straight a line as possible to help you along the way.
Steve Parker still following Dave Miller, and Dave's pulled out a little bit of a gap, so it appears he's solidified that position. Fredrickson now looking like he might be ready to mount an attack on Steve Parker as they come down to the chase, but Parker's taking a very defensive line into the chase. No, it looks like now Fredrickson might have a shot as they're coming in. Fredrickson on the outside, but Steve's got the better line. Here comes Fredrickson, though. He's in the grass. Oh, man. He was lucky not to lose it there. Oh, and Fredrickson has lost the rear bumper on his car.
Yeah,
apparently
I think that happened on lap 1.
Well, that probably won't affect the handling of the car too much, but certainly...
No, it's just plastic.
It's just plastic, but it certainly, if anybody loses a front bumper or a wing, that's definitely going to have a problem because those are downforce creating elements, and you don't want to be losing those. So Fredrickson, a valiant effort there to get by Steve Parker, but he's gone back to 6th place after he touched the grass there. Meanwhile, Jonatan Acerclinth soldiering on in 7th place. Is the car handling okay, Jonathan?
Yeah, it seems to be more or less okay. I might be down a couple of Ks in the top end of the car, but that shouldn't make too big of a difference in general.
All right, well, settle in.
I may make time over the mountains, so...
All right, we'll settle in. It's a long race. You've got the lone Alfa Romeo in the race behind you, I believe, Jason Whitehead.
Yeah, he just let me by on the back straight going down to the chase. He felt, I assume I was quick and didn't want to hold me up too much at this early stage, so he's doing a good job. That Alfa is very quick in a straight line.
Meanwhile, up front, Juha is continuing to lead. Canola is 2nd. Richard Coxon not too far behind in 3rd. So things have settled down to some extent now. Even the battle between Fredrickson and Parker has quieted down a bit. Let's look further back in the field. Oh, we got a nice scrap here going on between Brian Janik and David Saber heading into the S's, going down the hill. Brian Janik driving the Toyota Camry, and right behind them is Richard Wilkes, our physics guru. See if, my goodness, Brian trying every way he can. Oh, and it appears Saber has lost his bumper as well, and slight contact with the wall there allows Brian to get by, but if you look in the mirror there, he's not scot-free yet. Here comes Wilkes up the inside, and it looks like he's got Pascal Mikola trying to come with him. My goodness, this could be a very combustible situation as they come down to the chase. Look out. Janik in front of this group, and Pascal looks to overtake. Oh my goodness, no! Well, Saber lost it there. Looks like a little bit of contact there with Wilkes, and he's got a bit of a dented nose. But, yeah, we figured something like that might happen, or I did. And now Saber is looking to see if he can get back on Richard Wilkes here. So apparently that Renault is not any worse for wear, losing that rear bumper. Into Hell Corner one more time. We'll see if David can get any kind of advantage here on this long straight. And it looks like he's definitely faster than Wilkes in a straight line. Pulls out, and it looks like he's going to overtake now. Yeah, definitely. He's got lots of straight line speed in that Renault. As they head down that little dip into the second turn, still going up the hill, even though they're going downhill at that particular point. Oh, but look at Wilkes. He's counterattacking here.
Jacob had a bit of a moment on the top of the hill. I think he's more or less okay. Just lost a bit of pace.
Wilkes takes back the place. That's for 15th, and now Saber's going to see if he can get him again going up the hill here. But certainly this is an interesting battle because you have Wilkes' car, which is clearly handling better in the twisty bits, and Saber's car that has the legs on the straight. I think we're going to see a lot of that in this race today.
And Adam Hackman is unfortunately a retiree from this
Oh,
race.
goodness. Yes, Adam Hackman out of the race, but the only retiree so far, which is encouraging. Oh, yeah. Saber has an incident. Oh, he's lost his front bumper. I almost said wing because I'm so used to open wheels, but this is bad. Saber's going to have to go to the pits now for this. I don't think he can continue minus a front bumper because there's a downforce element present in that, I would think. And I think he's got more issues than that. He's locking the tire. I think he's got flat spots as well, so he's going to be coming to the pits. Oh, he glances off the wall at Forrest's elbow, so this is not a good situation for David. Sorry to see that. Meanwhile, Tim Hilla is continuing on in 10th place. He's having a good race. We mentioned before that he doesn't have the best of luck in the F191 series, largely because of the car he's driving. But looks like he's very much in his element here. Tim also drives on the Wednesday night series, correct?
Yeah, he's joined a bit late in the championship, but he is driving in the Wednesday night series. I think he's in a different car than the one he's using tonight, though, so he has a little bit of getting used to with that one. It's, of course, a rear-wheel drive car and handles a little bit differently than the front-wheel drive I believe he's driving in the full championship.
Meanwhile, Richard Coxon is closing in on Dave Miller. Dave running in 3rd place, Coxon in 4th, so might see a battle developing here. Coxon taking it very gingerly through this 7, 8, 9, 10 complex. Now at Skyline as we start to head downhill. You can hear the downshifting there, and really, this is a single file processional through here, but definitely you don't want to go glancing off one of these walls. Not a good situation. As you can see, too, that these two are starting to close up on Tiago as well. So we're about to complete lap 6 and start lap 7. Just as a reminder, we should see pit windows start to appear around lap 27 to 30. So keep that in mind as you look at the order on the top left. Boss continues to lead. Canola 2nd. Dave Miller is 3rd. Coxon is 4th. Steve Parker is 5th. Jakob Fredriksson 6th. Jonatan Acerclinth 7th. Jason Whitehead 8th. Alberto Aquino 9th. And rounding out the top 10 is Tim Hilla. And Boss has started to break away from Canola a bit in the Peugeot. So I don't know if that's a strategy bit on Canola's part as he's trying to save fuel, or maybe, oh goodness, as we see some air there going over the brow.
Could be that he's just trying to back off a little bit.
Conserve the car.
Yeah.
Oh goodness, Fredriksson just overtaking Jonatan as we're talking to him. It looks like Jonatan might have a chance to get back in here.
He has the legs up the hill here. He has a bit more power. I got him on a mistake, but I didn't defend the inside, so he could get back up inside.
He's also got less weight. He's also got less weight because he's lost that bumper.
Indeed, he's down about probably about 5 kilos on me.
Uh-huh.
Plus whatever he weighs compared to me. I think he's a bit of a thinner man than me.
Coming now towards the S's. You can see the smoke coming off the tires. Everyone's going to want to be very careful to not damage the tires or flat spot them going down this section.
Well, most of the lockups you see generally is that you end up with your inside front wheel up in the air and it's just slightly nudging. So as long as you don't brake too hard, you should still be relatively okay. But if you do lock up for a longer period of time, that way you have to brake a bit harder, you will certainly flat spot there.
Heading now down to the chase. Jonatan having a quick look, but probably not going to make an effort this time, no. Although Jonatan now in the grass. Look out, look out, look out, look out. Oh, no.
No, the car snapped a little bit on the brakes there, so it was better to just release it down the grassy bit and rejoin a bit further back.
Jonatan lives to fight another day. Meanwhile, we have Alberto Aquino here in 9th, and he's starting to close on Jason Whitehead. He's got another Team BMW just behind him in the person of Tim Hilla. And little Al looks like he's going to make an attempt here on the inside at Hell Corner. Oh, just runs out of room. Jason Whitehead says, nope, sorry, you're going to have to earn that pass. Heading now down the mountain straight. Up the mountain straight. It depends on how you look at it. We're actually heading south when we go on the mountain straight, but we're also going uphill. Probably makes more sense to say up the mountain straight. Heading through turn 2. So it's an Alfa Romeo here in 8th place versus 2 BMWs closing in. Be interesting to see how Jason's car handles back here. He was, you said that he let you by earlier, so maybe his car is not at its most confident back here. We'll see what happens. Riding on board now with Tim Hill as he watches the battle ahead of him. Oh, goodness. Little Al gets out of shape, and it looks like he's lost a bit of time there. But no, he hangs on. My goodness, I don't know how he maintained his place ahead of Tim there.
Well, while he was out of shape, he may still have been able to, as he's in a front-wheel drive, he could still have been able to put a bit of power on him. That's also how you save front-wheel drive. So.
True. Tim now trying to slipstream off of Little Al. Over the brow on Conrad Straight, now down to the chase. He's not going to have an opportunity here. Heading into the chase. Very good downshifting. Oh, goodness! Tim almost loses the back end of the car there as he comes out of the final corner. Or second to last corner, I should say. Meanwhile, Fredrickson in 6th is starting to mount a challenge on Steve Parker. And to your point, he's got good legs in that Volvo. Over the crest on the mountain straight. He's definitely got the legs to catch up to Steve, but we'll see what happens when they go through the twisty bits up here. Right-hand drive Volvo this is. Through the cutting. Now through Griffin's Mount. Right. And back to the left. And now we go through the succession of parks. Reed. Solman. Oh, goodness! Jakob Fredrickson slams the wall. In his Volvo, he just got up on the curb too much and clobbered the side of the wall. So it remains to be seen what kind of damage that did. My goodness. For the moment, he seems okay, but we'll have to keep an eye on him, because that was definitely a pretty solid hit, if a bit of an angled hit. Boss continues to lead. Canola in 2nd and Miller in 3rd place. And maybe my eyes deceive me, but it appears that Canola is pulling on Boss as they come up to the chase. Oh, Boss letting the back end really hang out, but the person who's really gaining some momentum here, it appears, is Dave Miller. Yeah, Dave's definitely closing up on this group, so this could become a 3-car battle for the lead very shortly. On board now, looking from Dave Miller's Vauxhall. Heading up Mountain Straight one more time. This is lap 10 now out of 80. So next time by will be 1/8 distance through the race. Long way to go yet. And there's a lapped car just ahead that they're going to have to overtake.
I think that's Raul Jereb or possibly Alberto.
Possibly.
Ibañez.
It's a Renault.
If it's a Renault, I think it's Bruno Chacon now. Or David Saber, I think is in the other Renault. Probably David Saber, looking at the standings.
As we come through this twisty upper section here. Definitely a section that you don't want to go side by side at all through here. But you see how diabolical it is here. At least here at the last left-hander before Skyline, you've got a little bit of runoff room if something goes wrong. Now down through the gears and through The S's, oh my goodness, it was David Saber. And David Saber just then, well, he was backwards there. And thankfully, everybody got by on the left-hand side. There could have been a very serious situation because it was the leaders coming through. But thankfully, nothing happened. Back on to Conrad Straight now.
Yeah, that's a bad spot to be off.
Oh, yeah, because it's going to be a surprise to somebody because a lot of those turns are blind. Heading down the straight now.
Oh, wait, no, your head hit the wall.
Oh, no!
I came across a bumper and he's going slowly, so I think there's a correlation between them.
Oh, goodness! He just grazed David Saber, who was stationary there in his Renault. Yareb, oh, yes, there was a secondary incident. Yareb runs into the wall. Oh, in a couple of places, and he loses his front bumper. That's too bad. So he's going to have to go to the pits for repairs. My goodness. Oh, and we have another incident here. Little Al has gotten into some trouble here at the chase. And secondary contact with Yareb and one other car. So, my goodness. Some people are already having issues here. And we're not even we're 8th into the race now. Yareb is going to come into the pits for repairs. This is probably going to be a lengthy stop. We don't know what else is wrong with the car besides losing that front bumper. But the only retirement so far, Adam Hackman, which is unfortunate. And Tiago has just gone ahead of Juha Boss. Let's take a look at a replay of this. Just like that, we missed the pass for the lead. Running it back here. It must have happened at the chase, or maybe at Murray's corner. We'll see. Goodness, running it way, way back here. And Miller is right there with them as well. Yes, here's where it happened. Just exiting the chase. Canola gets alongside of Juha. And you can see how close Miller is with this group, too. There's a part left over from, I believe, Yareb's car still on the track. The marshals are going to want to go out there and grab that. So Canola now leads the race with Juha in second place. We still have the first set of pit stops to come up, and that's certainly going to shuffle the order. Heading into the chase. Downshifting. Canola leads, Boss second, Miller third, Coxon fourth, Parker fifth, Fredrickson sixth, despite losing that rear bumper, Acerclinth seventh, Hilla eighth, ninth, Alberto Aquino in spite of the incident he just had, and Whitehead rounds out the top 10 now. 11th is Jan.
Fredrickson in trouble. Fredrickson in trouble. Looks like an engine.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, he's pulled off onto the gravel, the kitty litter. And yes, there's white smoke there. New Pope. It appeared. Yes, Fredrickson, unfortunately, is out of the race. That's too bad.
That's really unfortunate. He was having a good race, really good pace as well. But it's one of those things. These are technically built for sprint racing, these cars. And this was the first year they came to Bathurst to do a 1,000-mile race. Sorry, 1,000 Ks. And the cars, in the end, many cars in the end wouldn't quite take that amount of strain for such a long time. Unfortunately, I assume that's the first of a few that will run into trouble in that kind of way.
Well, the battle for first place isn't over yet because Boss is staying right in the shadow of Tiago Canola as they come up to lap a car. I didn't see who it was. Let's have a look here from a chopper shot. It is a BMW, and naturally I can't see the name on it, but it doesn't matter if they're already past them, the three. So that was a very good, very fortunate situation. They got through them before they got into the downhill S section. Now they got another car ahead of them that they have to overtake. It's Bruno Chacon in the Renault. Canola goes through. Boss has a loose moment, my goodness, but carries a lot of speed through corner 18, now into 19, and it looks like he may have a challenge for the lead as they come down the straight. Great chopper shot here. Boss and Canola. It's a drag race down the Conrad straight as ahead into the chase. Looks like Boss is going to be the benefactor. We'll see. He's on the inside line for the chase. But now, of course, he's in the wrong place for the slow bit. And yes, Canola retains the lead. Miller's got the $75 seat for this action. As they come to the final corner straight, Miller looks like he's going to take a stab at Juha. Yes, Dave Miller goes up to second place. Excellent pass. Copybook, very good. Boss coming back on the inside. And Miller, being the driver that he is, the gentleman, he leaves him room. Looks like Boss is going to make another attempt at the inside. Miller turns in. Oh, goodness. Very close, but Miller maintains second place. Really good racing here.
The track certainly invites to some good action here.
Yes, absolutely.
And obviously with all the drafting, everyone that stays in the draft will remain fairly at least close.
And of course that exchange just there played right into the hands of Canola. He's pulled out a little bit of a gap. But Juha right on the back end of Miller. He is not giving him any rest at all. He clocks the wall there just a little bit as they head through the cutting. Now through Griffin's Mount. Oh, Miller goes off the wall just a tiny bit there. So these guys got to be careful. There's still an awful lot of racing to go. They got to preserve their cars. Miller looking really stout in his Vauxhall. Heading now down into the S's and the Dipper right there. Bottom drops out from underneath you. The Australian version of the corkscrew, I guess you could say. As Juha looks like he scrapes the wall just a little bit there, the earthen bank. But no worse for wear. He definitely is having a lot of loose moments in that Peugeot. One driver that we're going to want to keep an eye on, according to my lap charts, is Tim Hilla. He's definitely putting in some of the best laps he has so far. We may see him climbing the charts before too long. Oh, Boss looks up the inside. Slight contact, but not much. Just a slight love tap. He was looking at a bit of daylight there. As they now come down to the final corner, Murray's corner. Coxon's not too far behind this group either, so he might be able to join in the fun in a little bit. On board now with Juha as we look ahead to Dave Miller, our new second place man. Mrs. Dave watching on YouTube. Your man's doing an excellent job. Over the rise into the second turn. There's a little bit of room off of that sausage with a sausage corner there that if you're not careful, you can send the car back to the other side of the track. Into the cutting. This part of the track. Oh my goodness, Miller up on two wheels. Very good save. That could have been really terrible. He could have hit the wall there. Oh, we got yellow flags up ahead. So somebody's heading off. Everyone needs to slow down. Be careful. Yes, it's Raul Ureb is in the dirt at the start of the S's. Thankfully, he was out of the way. Nobody was in any problem. But that momentary lapse is giving Juha a chance to counterattack here. He's almost pushing Miller as they go into Conrad here. But Miller gets a better exit off of Forest Bend. Or Forest Elbow, sorry. Now they head down Conrad again. These three are putting on a fantastic show. And Coxon appears to be closing on this group, just slightly. The more that they battle, the easier it'll be for him to close in. Acerclinth in 6th place, looking at Steve Parker. Tim Hilla, we mentioned before, rising up the standings now in 7th place. Alberto Aquino in 8th place, still soldiering on. 9th for Jason Whited. 10th for Brian Janik. 11th, Mikola, and he's got Gabriel Sturr right behind him. 2 Germans doing battle here in BMWs. This could be interesting.
And there'll probably be a bit of honor in that fight.
Oh, I don't doubt it. Doesn't look like Gabriel's pulling too much on Pascal and Conrad. Maybe a tiny bit. He's going to have to get closer if he wants to attempt an overtake. And you can see how some people are braking, going into the chase before they get to the... oh, goodness, as Gabriel goes onto the grass. I think he made a slight miscalculation there. And lets Pascal go by. Doesn't want to gain an advantage by cutting that chicane. Good for him. Heading into the final turn here. So definitely... but that's the rub of the chase. It's a place where you can definitely overtake. But... you've got to be willing to be on a knife edge to do it as they head through the first corner once again. And Miller is getting closer to Thiago Canola, so we could see a third leader in this race, believe it or not. Depends on what happens in the next few corners here. Lap 15 now out of 80, so not quite pit stop time yet. That's going to be probably 12 laps from now. Yeah, Miller's definitely got some speed here. He's very slowly but surely reeling in Thiago on the straight. I don't think he's going to be able to make an attempt here. Into the chase. Oh, Thiago gets on the brakes earlier than... Oh my goodness, there's an accident! No! Oh no, Miller and Canola both off the track, and that means Boss goes into the lead. Coxon goes to second. Oh, this is a disaster for both drivers. Miller tries to get the car back going. Looks like, oh my goodness, it looks like Thiago's the first one to get rolling. Miller's going to have to cut through the kitty litter, but that's going to take forever. Oh, this is terrible. Let's look at a replay of this to see what happened here. Miller goes in the inside. Miller lost just a bit of control as they're coming to the chase. His car starts to oversteer, and he hits the left side door of Thiago's car, and that sends them both into the runoff area. That could have been way worse, but my goodness, a disaster for these two who were having an excellent race. Unbelievable. And Miller is coming for the pits, so evidently he has some kind of damage there. You can see the smoke on the car. Oh my goodness, he's locked up. He's having trouble even making the turn for the pit entrance.
Probably a front puncture of some
He's probably punctured a tire, yes. My goodness. Dramatic developments here in this Lucas Vidra Trophy race, the second race in this series. Miller into the pits for repairs, and he's dropped to 10th place at this point. Undoubtedly, he's going to be dropping further. So what does that do to the order? That promotes Boss back to the lead again. Coxon in second place. Steve Parker is now up to third, and Johnny Ace is his fourth now. So you're the benefactor of that Hargy-Bargy.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. Canola actually didn't fall too far down the... He was the better one to come out of that. He evidently had less damage. He is fifth. Tim Hilla is up to sixth now, having an excellent race. Alberto Aquino, who's had his own dramas early on, is in seventh place. Eighth now, Jason Whited. Ninth, Brian Janik. 10th, Gabriel Sturr. So he got past Mikola at some point. We missed it. But Mikola definitely is counterattacking. 2 Germans, 2 BMWs. Coming down through the S's again, they're coming up to David Saber to put a lap on him. This could be an opportunity for Mikola to try to sneak by. As Sturr hasn't gotten by yet, as they come down to the to corner 18. Still hasn't gotten by. Looking for a way by it. And that's giving Pascal the opportunity to close. There's actually two cars ahead of them here. Mikola flashing his lights. Making sure that Sabre sees both of them. He does, lets them by. Into the chase one more time. Pascal locking up the car, but thankfully, a little over the curbs, but no problem. Oh! Goodness. And they've got one more. There's no problem now. The other Renault lets them by at shotgun, and apparently he's going for the pits anyway. So, Pascal! No, Pascal up on two wheels, and he clobbers the outside wall at Murray's corner. My goodness, if you don't respect these curbs, even on the corners that seem the least problematic, it can be a problem. So hopefully he doesn't have any damage to his BMW. Locking up for Hell Corner. It appears he's got a puncture. My goodness, so he's going to have to, his right front is locking up, so apparently he got a puncture from that impact, so he's going to have a long trek back to the pits to change that tire and possibly make repairs. Yeah, you can see the right-hand side of the car is kind of hanging down a little bit. So yeah, he definitely sustained some damage in that, hitting that wall. So the gap from Coxon to Boss right now is 6.817 seconds. As Coxon runs a little off the track, but doesn't lose too much time. So the pit stops should be coming up in about 10 laps, and that'll be really interesting because we'll see if anybody can improve or otherwise maintain their position while they are in the pits. Certain people will have to make sure that they have repair damage turned off because otherwise the pit crew is going to be spit shining their car while they go down the standings.
It's certainly something you don't really want.
No, not unless you absolutely need it.
No, indeed.
So that other Ford you're seeing there is not Coxon. That is your Reb, his teammate, that has just been lapped by Boss. So don't be confused. That's not the second place car. This is the second place car just now heading into the cutting. You can tell the difference between Coxon and Yareb because Coxon has the black mirrors and Yareb has the yellow mirrors with the yellow headlight covers. Jonatan Acerclinth in third place has overtaken Steve Parker.
He made the tiniest of error down at Hell Corner and I got the run and he decided he didn't want to fight me right now and flashed me past. There we go. Slight scrape, shouldn't be too much of an issue.
Down into the S's once again, that Peugeot doing very well for Jonatan Acerclinth. Thank you very much. White paint job with blue wheels. Looks like you got a cartoon on the roof there of some kind.
Yeah, I think it's their mascot.
Oh, I see. For the team, for Fastway Couriers.
Yeah, it's. I think that's one of Bewley's.
Oh, it's on the side of the car as well.
Yeah.
It's like a shipping company, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's what Bewley ran as a day-to-day man. And then he enjoyed a bit of racing on the weekends, just like many others did back in the 80s and 90s.
Oh, yes. Definitely the case in IndyCar racing. I remember growing up. Of course, Penske still has a lot of car dealerships and his truck rental company. And he also owns what used to be... he also owns Detroit Diesel. A lot of owners also were trucker types. I believe Carl Hogan and Dick Simon both ran trucking companies. As Mikola exits the pits, obviously repairs complete, and he has fallen down to 16th place in the order. So for the purposes of the Lucas Vidra Trophy, we remind you that points will be paid down to 10th place. So, something to keep in mind as we continue on here. So Juha, the benefactor of some good luck in some situations here, continuing on in his Peugeot. That's a beautiful paint job in that Peugeot, that golden green. If you were to describe that paint job to me verbally, I might be like, I don't know. But
it's certainly one of the prettier cars on the grid.
Yeah, I think it's quite a nice paint job, actually. And Coxon's gap to Juha has actually increased now. It's 9.454 seconds. 9.2 now, so we'll have to see if any inroads can be made during the pit stop, which should be coming up sooner or later. My goodness, Ray Radala's car has seen better days. He's missing both the front and the back bumper. That can't be handling too well. Dave Miller is soldiering on now after repairs in 14th place. So not out of the running, but definitely that was a huge setback for Miller. It's too bad because he had excellent pace. He's now being stalked by Mick Chapman in the team car to Juha Boss's car. So hopefully Miller will be able to get back into the top 10 through attrition. Not impossible, because this is a very long race.
It certainly is.
Looks like the cars have stretched out to some extent here. Little Al is closing in on his dad now, but this is not a pass for position, I believe. Oh, Tiago Canola right with Steve Parker now. So, looks like Tiago might be able to get back into 4th place here. Parker taking a defensive line into the cutting. Say downshift. They've got Raul Ureb just ahead that they're going to have to lap. Raul is running with his headlamps on all the time, but he makes room for both of them. Steve acknowledges with a thank you flash from his headlamps. It's amazing to me that he finds the time to do that, especially through the 7, 8, 9, 10 complex. I'd be like, I'm not doing that. I'm trying all I can to get the car on the ribbon in front of me. So Tiago backs off a little bit here. But definitely seems to have the legs on Steve. We'll see if he can make any inroads here as they exit Forrest's elbow. Taking a left-hand turn now on to Conrad Straight. We'll see if Tiago can close in. Looking backwards from Steve's car. And that Valvoline car is getting bigger. Over the rise. Is Tiago going for it? Yes, he is. Parker flashes his lights, apparently knew the score, knew that Tiago was going to go for it, and he doesn't want to fight him here. So he lets him go. Tiago Canola up to 4th place, but Parker just let him go. I bet Parker's thinking long game at this point. Not interested in getting in a skirmish with Tiago right now, and probably is thinking about pit stops.
Indeed, we're about 5-6 laps away from that.
Ray Radal has retired from the race, unfortunately. So he's going to be heading down the order. Not sure what happened there, but attrition's starting to take hold here. That means Alberto Ibañez moves up to 16th place in his Brian Bradshaw race preparation BMW.
And that's another driver in real life, by the way, that ran that as a side project, as a weekend fun.
Oh, we're looking at Schlipinski here, who is in 12th, but he is missing the front and back end of his car. It'll be interesting to see how many of these people who have parts missing make the choice to get them replaced in the pit stop, or that they just simply say, no, screw it, I just want tires and fuel. So Canola definitely now pulling out an advantage on Parker. So either Parker is driving to a fuel meter, or maybe he has a slight problem, I don't know.
I think he's more or less driving to a pace, as Raul Jareb also has decided to park the car.
Oh, goodness. So it's 2 retirements in quick succession here, so definitely attrition starting to be part of this Lucas Vidra Trophy race. But we talked about it at the top of the show. This is a track that if you do not respect it, you're doing so at your own peril. It will reach out and bite you.
Indeed, it will.
"22 laps complete." Or, sorry, 21. We're now in 22. Boss continues to lead. Richard Coxon is in second. Jonatan Acerclinth is third. Tiago Canola is fourth. Oh my goodness, Juha has a bit of a moment there going into the cutting and gets into the marbles. He was lucky to save that without hitting the wall. So maybe his tires are starting to give up the ghost.
Well, it's certainly something that's starting to kick in on this set of tires. You can't quite go through the corners as quickly as you could before, and if you then compound that with a bit of a mistake, it can definitely cost you a lot of pace and time.
Well, not to suggest that he was asleep, but I'm sure that woke him up if he was just a slight bit on autopilot, and that's going to make sure that he keeps a clear head before he goes into the pits. Is there a pit speed limit that must be observed?
Yes, there is.
Okay, well, that's another thing to factor in.
It's, I think, 60 kph, about 36 mph.
Goodness, that's a crawl.
Yep, especially compared to the speed you come down Conrad Straight just beforehand, when you reach approximately 260 kph, or about 158, 160 mph. Or nearly 280 kph, I should say.
Coxon driving that Ford Mondeo. I drove this car at Winton in a couple of races, and comfortable car to drive, but not necessarily the quickest car in this mod, Jonathan.
No, it's a little bit too heavy in the front end for its own good, seeing as it's a V6. So it certainly pulls pretty well down the straights, but just lacking a little bit in the handling department.
So you might want to focus on your mirrors in the next few laps, because you have Tiago closing in on you.
I've been looking at the gap, and as long as I drive my lines and the way I drive overall, I'm able to keep it relatively consistent at about 3 seconds. Give or take wear on the track, because on the straights he's a little bit quicker than me.
Well, the top 10 or 12 are... Oh, Miller is now up to 12th. I think that's because of the 2 DNFs we had in succession. So Miller almost back into the top 10. Schlipinski soldiering on with his bumperless Volvo. So we're going to have to keep an eye on the front of the pack because Pit stops cannot be too far away. It, of course, also depends on the laps that people have been running. If you have been conserving fuel, you may be able to go a little bit further. Let's take a brief look here at the laps that Juha has been putting up. 2:16s, 2:17s, and 2:18s. So that would seem to figure with him coming in around lap 27 or so, based on the burn rate that we've been talking about. If you see people going for 2:20 laps, that's probably people who are driving more to numbers than anything else. Actually, while we're at it, let's take a look at Cox and the laps he's been doing. 2:17s, 2:18s, 2:19s, the odd 2:20, but seems to me he's going the same speed as he's going all out, just the same. Oh, he goes on one of those sausage barriers, or not barrier, curb, slightly. He appears to be running at about the same pace. Jonatan, looking at his times, Jonathan's running a little. He's running 18s, but also 17s. So it looks like that in the top three, the pace is relatively the same. So when lap 27 comes along, which is in 4 laps, we'll have to take a close look at what happens here. Over the brow. Canola slowly closing in on Jonatan, but with pit stops coming up soon, I'm thinking that Canola probably won't make a big deal out of trying to get around Jonatan.
Depends on how much quicker he feels that he is, I think. And now that we're running on low fuel, the cars are also behaving a little bit off, so...
That's true. As fuel burns off, the car handling will change. Oh! Jonatan has a moment there going into the S's.
As soon as I turned into that.
If you need to mute me, Jonatan, do it.
No, it's perfectly fine. It's just the tires that's burning off and trying to maintain the pace that I have at the moment is a little bit of a stretch. But that's fine.
Down Conrad. Getting a little bit of air there as they go over the rise and now into the chase. Jonatan has one car he's going to have to deal with ahead of him. I believe that's Mikkola.
Oh, Gabriel Sturr is unfortunately a retiree.
Oh no! What happened there? Gabriel Sturr had come into the pits and apparently quit out of the race. So whatever was, maybe he had a disconnect or something, but yeah, it appeared he did. That's too bad. So we now have 5 retirements in the race. Ray Radal, Bruno Chacon, Raul Yareb, Jakob Fredriksson, and Adam Hackman. 17 cars still running in this race. So Juha is now on lap 24. Still going very quickly in spite of the fact that the tires must be starting to be past their use-by date. Coxon in second place. And here's Canola right with Acerclinth now, so we'll see how this pans out. Tiago in a right-hand drive Nissan. Coming into the always critical, diabolical S's. Left, right, left, right, left, right. into the chase. Jonatan holding the zone on the Conrad straight. Tim Hilla overtaking Pascal here. Tim Hilla up to 6th place, doing very well in this race. Pascal soldiering on in 14th place, a lap down right now. So he may be able to go a little further than everybody else because he pitted earlier. But that early skirmish he had with, I'm sorry, not the skirmish with Stir, but the problem he had exiting Murray's corner basically is to blame for where he is right now. As we have one car in the pits right now. See who that is. It is Alberto Ibañez. Alberto is out of the race. Unfortunate. Not sure what happened there. Well, that is our 6th retirement now. Or 7th, actually, now. Because Stir is out of the race. So that means we have 15 cars now running. Sabre, the last car running now. Oh, Chapman now, right with Mikkola. This is actually a battle for position. This ought to be good. You can see where people have struck the wall there, coming through Sulman Park. And just after this Castrol Bridge, we start to go downhill. Looks like Pascal's got the measure on Chapman through this section. We'll see what happens when they get onto Conrad Straight. See what the straight line of that Peugeot is compared to Pascal's BMW. And pit stop should be coming up very shortly. We're on lap 27 now. Watching Juha now as he gets to Skyline. He's going to put a lap on David Sabre, last car running. David doesn't put up any kind of fight. Now into Conrad Straight. We'll see if Juha makes a turn for the pits or not. Over the rise, and now into the chase. Now shifting. Ooh, a little bit of a loose moment there, but again, these tires are definitely probably done. Nope, Juha's going for another lap. See if Coxon decides to come in here. And Coxon's staying under lap, so people are stretching their fuel load more than, well, it is still in the window. Tiago also continuing on, as is Jonatan. Parker also continuing on, so So even with the pace that's been going on, people finding a little bit of fuel saving, which is good to see. Little Al might be heading for the pits next time around because we see his little screwdriver icon, or not screwdriver, that's a wrench. Wilkes also on lap 27. So 27 is not the magic number for anyone, it appears. As Whited has a bit of a hair-raising moment going into Forest's elbow.
It's probably because many drivers calculated for a formation lap, which didn't occur, so...
As we're joined in the booth now by Alberto Ibañez. Alberto, so your race didn't last as long as you had hoped. What happened?
Well, all I can say is that I'm alive, which is not what you would expect at such a shunt. But anyway, I just took too much of a curb, and that was it.
Sorry to interrupt, but our leader now is into the pits. Juha Boss entering the pit lane for his stop. This is at the first stop of the race on lap 28, at the end of lap 28, starting lap 29.
I think everyone more or less is heading in. Looks like Richard Coxon is continuing for one more lap.
Yes, Coxon assumes the lead now. There he goes. Coxon now leads. Boss in second. Canola third. Looks to be a fairly routine stop. And Canola also into the pits. Rolling for his spot. Pulls in. So we got two of the leaders in right now. And Jonatan Acerclinth also in. Pulls in just in front of Canola. So now we'll see a battle develop between pit crews. They'll determine who's going to be the first to go out. Steve Parker also in, so 4 leaders in. So we'll keep a close eye on this group.
Yeah, very similar for consumption on the top cars. That's evident. And also everybody on the same strategy.
Yes. And there goes Boss. Boss is exiting the pits. And he is
Except
in third.
Richard Coxon, and we will see what happens on the next lap. Maybe he will enter, maybe he won't.
Yeah, it's true. So Boss retains third place. Canola exits now. Alberto Aquino coming in pits. Jonatan finishes his service, leaving the pits in 5th place. And Steve Parker leaves in 6th place. Little Al drops to 7th.
Well, Richard Coxon has found some traffic.
Yes, he has.
Downhill. And if he was trying to make a quick lap to gain some advantage, extending his pit stop 1 lap, that won't be working. I can see the icon of pit requested in his car, so maybe he's going in this lap, but it will hurt, for sure.
Following Brian Janik down Conrad Straight, up to the chase. Yes, definitely there is the wrench icon on the lower left corner as he overtakes Janik. So we'll look for Coxon to dive in. Tim Hilla in this...
on the left side,
yes.
He will likely, dive
So he's definitely coming in. Tim Hilla has risen to 2nd place in the shuffle. So he is yet to pit, so we'll see what happens when Tim Hilla comes to the end here, if he's going to come in the pits. He is now cruising down Conrad Straight in his BMW.
Yeah, let's see what happens now.
Into the chase. Hill is having an excellent race. We talked about this earlier. We see him in F191 struggling with that Modena, but it's a very different story today. And he's going to stay out for a bit more, so
He is, yes.
Yes.
I guess he might have maybe 1 or 2 more laps of fuel because, as far as I can tell, the BMW is a bit more economical than the rest of the cars. Or maybe that was just my slow pace.
All right, so Coxon's still in the pits. So Tim Hille goes into the lead. Coxon drops to second place.
This is a long pit stop.
It is a long pit stop, longer than I would have thought. Boss goes up to second.
Maybe he forgot to... Oh, he
No,
comes
there he
out
goes.
now.
There he goes. Okay, so Coxon...
It takes about 38 seconds for a full tank of fuel.
So looking for Canola now. I don't see him...
He outbroke
He's on the main
himself in
straight
the last
now.
corner.
Coxon is going to exit just in front of him.
Okay, well, so Coxon...
Oh, that will be with cold tires.
Yes.
There comes Canola coming down the first turn.
Yeah, Canola just exiting Hell Corner now, so...
With Jonatan right behind him. So there's the pack of Hungry Wolves
Yes.
right behind Richard Coxon, who must
Meanwhile,
be right now wishing his tires were warmer.
Meanwhile,
Look at that, how he understeered into that one.
Tim Hille continues to enjoy his moment in the sun, leading in his BMW. You can see, I mentioned it before on that wall, all the tire marks where people have hit Sulman Park right on that concrete wall.
So hang on, because it's Juha Boss actually in second place now. He must have gone through before we noticed.
Yes, he did. He went through and Coxon dropped to third place. So,
yep. Oh, Juha Boss just crashed.
No! Juha has lost his front nose. Oh, that's terrible. Let's have a look at a replay. What happened here? It was at the top of the track, the place which can be very hair-raising, not surprising. Juha...
And that's where he's been struggling all the way through practice.
Oh, my goodness. He hit... Oh, he heads into... Oh, my goodness. It was a very solid hit, too. Right at the start of the S's, his back end just got a bit loose. We've seen his car loose in previous laps, so... This is disastrous for Juha. He's going to have to come in and get that car fixed, maybe.
Yes, if you leave the braking just for a smidge too late and the car is not completely straight, then you get that. It will tail fish.
All right, so we'll see if Juha is going to come into the pits. No, he's going to see if he can soldier on and save that repair for the next stop, maybe. But that's definitely going to handicap his car. Although,
yeah, we will see. There will definitely be less front downforce.
Although, thinking about it, maybe it might actually... Tim Hille has gone to the pits, so Boss is now in the lead. Coxon goes up to second. Canola third now. Acerclinth fourth, so Hille is dropping down the standings. This is a routine stop for him.
Canola's getting closer to Coxon.
Parker goes into fifth place. And Miller has risen all the way up to seventh now after the problem he had earlier at the chase, so he's not out of this either. All right, Tim Hille takes off. You can see he's got a bit of damage in the front there on the front air dam, but nothing too serious. So Hille completes his stop. Looks like he's going to exit in seventh place.
Yeah,
so,
right behind Dave Miller. Oh, and Little Al just misses the breaking point there.
Oh, goodness.
Well,
careful.
A shame for him because he was going to get quite close to Tim Hille, but with this error...
Yeah, there goes that chance, unfortunately.
Yep.
So yes, Miller now up to sixth place. I have to say, that's pretty surprising given the long repairs he had, but then again, we've had a lot of attrition recently. Acerclinth running right with
Tell that to me.
Mikola, who lets him by. Canola in third, Coxon second. Juha, we got to keep an eye on his lap times to see if that missing front bumper is going to cause him a problem. The funny thing is, his car has been very loose. Wouldn't it be interesting if losing that front bumper helped to even out the handling of the car?
Well, it could be at high speed, but the problem is that his car is getting loose when downshifting and going into the corner, and that's a point where the aero downforces are not really that relevant. Anyways, the last lap without the front fender already was in 2:22, which is obviously way off the pace of the leaders.
That's very significantly low compared to what Juha's been running in before. He was running 2:17.
He's coming down the main straight now. 2:18, so that's something better. He has adapted.
All right, well, we'll see if he can keep rolling. But in any event, he's going to have to. He might want to fix that later on.
Here comes Richard Coxon, and for a reference, that was 2:17.9. That is
all right, so
not a whole deal, but quicker.
Well, it's going to be a challenge for Juha to maintain that pace, given the car is damaged.
No, it's actually the same time that Thiago Canola has done, for example. So it's not really that bad for a car without a front fender.
And a place that will definitely hurt him if he ends up in traffic and has to run behind someone else.
Recapping for those of you who just joined us, early on in the race, we had an excellent scrap for the lead between Dave Miller and Juha Boss, which, was Canola, I believe. That ended up with both cars going off at the chase, but fortunately they were able to continue. Miller being the one that had the worst of the situations coming out of that. But we have to keep a close eye now on Coxon because not sure he realizes that Juha has got damage. Probably not, but he will definitely be noticing if he's driving slower than he has before. And when he tastes the blood in the water, that might be all he needs to start reeling him in. So we're on lap 32 now. Boss leads, Coxon second, Canola third, Acerclinth fourth, Parker fifth, Dave Miller sixth, Timula seventh, Alberto Aquino eighth, Jason Whitehead ninth, and Richard Wilkes is in 10th. Into the chase, so we'll see what happens here. According to the lap times, I assume Boss has already gone through, Alberto.
I think so. I was not watching him specifically, but let me check that.
Oh, Coxon runs off onto the grass. That won't help his lap time.
Yes, Boss is still in the lead. He has gone through. He's on the main straight now, right after the
and he's gone
in the main straight.
He's doing 2:18s now. The 3:14 lap obviously was his pit exit, or no, I'm sorry, not pit exit. That was the lap obviously where he had the incident. But then it was a 2:22, then a couple of 2:18s, 2:18.3 and a 2:18.2. So like you say, it appears that he has adapted to running without that front bumper. In contrast, let's have a look at Coxon's times. And he's running similar, 2:17, 2:18s. He had a moment there where a couple laps ago, he had a 3:17. Not sure what happened there. But apart from what we're seeing here, he seems to be running at a very similar pace to our leader, Juha Boss.
Well, this is a track where the slightest error can immediately mean that you are half a second off the pace. So
true.
Unless you really nail it, you would expect the drivers not to be so regular. And Juha Boss still tail fishing there to the SS, coming now into the main turnaround for the main straight, for the main backstretch, sorry.
Conrad straight.
Yeah, and he has apparently everything under control, and maybe as you suspected, this actually has improved his car, who knows?
I don't know, we'll find out. I would think here is where it's particularly difficult going into the chase, because the car probably wants to understeer like crazy.
Well, this is actually touring cars. I mean, there is obviously some downforce there, but it's not a huge amount. So I would expect that if you are able to play a bit with the weight transfer, it shouldn't be that complex slow speeds. Of course, at high speed, for example, in the kink before the last braking assist, that's a point where it might really hurt. But other than that, I believe that, well, drivers will probably adapt to it.
Coxon just now coming onto the pit straight himself. The gap is 11.3 seconds right now. Canola comes through in third and Acerclinth in fourth.
Yeah, but the distance between Coxon and Canola very slowly, but it's diminishing. Coxon certainly being cut up by the following cars. Juha Boss did a 2:16 in the last lap. So
Good
indeed, he has
grief.
adapted very well to these circumstances.
Definitely. My
Until
goodness.
now
That's...
with the Peugeot.
Oh, goodness. Chapman's had a bit of a off, but recovers. And Schlapinski still soldiers on. I guess he's proof positive that you can continue without bumpers.
Well, Juha has already proven that. Whoa, Pascal Mikula has an off-track caution now. He has never been comfortable all the time here in this track. It's interesting because he's a very quick driver. He has proven that in Formula 1. But somehow it's not translating his speed into here.
This is a highly technical course. And it's a course that probably doesn't lend itself to making daring maneuvers.
Yeah, you need to be on top of the car all the time. It's controlled aggression, obviously, because you are enclosed by walls. And everything happens very quickly, especially downhill. So I would even go as far as saying that Juha Boss has been able to even open a bit of a gap between him and Richard Coxon. So it was certainly a good decision by him to try to see what happens without the front bumper.
Well, we'll see what happens now as Coxon comes down to complete lap 34, and we'll see what the gap is. The gap is increasing. It actually increased 0.3 there. Not a lot, but Coxon's not able to make any inroads into Boss's lead. So yeah, this is pretty remarkable stuff that he's able to drive at that level in spite of not having...
The thing is that Richard's last 3 laps have not been that constant, whereas in the case of Tiago Canola, they have been. He has been doing laps in 2:17, and he has been denting a bit on the lead that Richard Coxon has on him.
So 15 cars still running in the race, and all but 3 of them are on the lead lap. The next target for Juha is going to be Cezary Schlapinski.
Let's see, yellow flag in Sector 1 just went off. David Sabre going into the pits. Not sure if that's scheduled or repairs, but his car is smoking heavily.
Yes, Sabre coming into the pits. Lots of smoke. Oh, it appears that he's repairing the car as well, so this could be a lengthy pit stop for him, but at this point he's last in the order, so he doesn't have much to lose. He goes another lap down here.
I think from here, for him, it's more a question of I want to finish.
Yeah, true.
No matter what.
Juha Boss about to come around.
Yes.
The following lap. He's catching up with Cezary Schlapinski at this point.
Yeah. And the gap has dropped slightly. 10.8 seconds now.
Yes, and my bad, because I said that he had done a 2:16 at some point, which is not the case. That was his quickest lap of the race. But he has been doing very, very steady 2:18. 0.3, 0.2, 0.3, 0.3, 0.0 as the foil gets burnt. But, I mean, for a car without a front bumper, that's really remarkable. And it certainly is helping him so far keep the distance with Richard Coxon.
We have a report from the paddock that Bruno Chacon exited the race due to a disconnection. So that's too bad.
And that's one of the negatives of sim racing that happens. But that's the way to look at it is that's similar to having an engine blow or
that's our
like a
mechanical failure.
turbo blowing on you and
A 5-cent
that kind of
bearing
thing.
giving out.
Yeah, indeed, very much so.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you're correct, Alberto. Yuha doesn't seem to be losing that loose condition at slow speed corners. Because the arrow doesn't matter in situations like this as much.
He has been held now a bit by Cesarius going slower. This will
Well, he's getting by
Cesarius make
now.
room for him, but this will have hurt a bit in his lead. And if you're looking back from his car, you still don't see Coxon coming out.
And Coxon has
Now he's exiting the last corner, so there's a quite sizable gap as of now, which is not the case for Richard Coxon, because look at Thiago Canola, he's already in his slipstream.
Oh yes. So we have a battle for second place now between Canola and Coxon. Into the chase.
And not far away, our friend Jonatan, who just said a bit of an agricultural excursion. But is there waiting to see what happens to the battle in front.
Thiago looking out his front window at Richard Coxon as they go into Hell Corner. Canola's one of those drivers that even if he has a setback, it doesn't fluster him. He just keeps coming back. Over the hill into Quarry Bend. He's definitely got the legs on the straight in that Nissan.
This being a very long race, an endurance race, I suspect that Thiago will not be in a hurry to pass Richard Coxon. He knows he is quicker. He will study him maybe for 1 or 2 laps unless there is an evident error from Richard. And then he will decide where is the best place to actually make his move.
All the while our leader is driving a wounded car.
Yeah. But
Pretty
unless
amazing.
I'm wrong, Thiago Canola has a bit more power in that engine when compared to the Ford Mondeo of Richard Coxon, right?
It has slightly lesser power, but its aerodynamics is far better in a straight line.
Okay, so it
It's very
has
slippery.
more top speed, yeah.
And and as Jonathan has pointed out to me earlier, the Mondeo is a bit overweight, especially in the front.
Mm-hmm. The weight balance is a bit too far to the front for that machine.
Yeah, good traction, but bad understeer.
Mm-hmm. So it's gonna. I don't think Thiago can take a shot at Coxon this time around. But we should definitely keep an eye on this group. 12 seconds is the gap now between Coxon and. Well, hang on a minute. Sorry, no, 11.1 seconds. I was looking at the overall gap from third place. So we're on lap 37 now. I would guess the next round of pit stops would happen around lap 60, maybe 61. Coxon again runs onto the grass coming out of Murray's corner.
Yes, Santiago has left a bit of room. And, well, my bet is that Thiago will be studying him for some laps and knowing that both of them will be pitting about lap 60, as you say, he will try to make a move with 5 to 10 to go, so that if he has a quicker pace, he can actually build a gap to Richard Coxon so that when exiting the pit, he is safely in front.
Into Quarry Bend once again. This is a foreshortened shot, but you can also see there Jonatan poking his nose into our picture. This has been a fantastic race from start to where it is now and almost at finish. Really happy to bring it to you on YouTube. And I mentioned it before, but hope that everybody is healthy and safe wherever you are in the world. We're thinking of our friends and our family, and scary times right now, but we're glad to have you with us, and forget about that reality for just a short time and just enjoy some good sim racing with us. Canola staying right with Coxon. Looks like he may have a decent shot here if he gets a good exit out of Forest Elbow. And it looks like he did, so now it's a matter of slipstream.
And it's quite remarkable that after nearly 40 laps, that is half the race, in such a long track, we have here the leaders side by side nearly. I mean, oh, look at that. Thiago makes this move.
Pops
that's
out.
Not exactly the best place you would like to do that, but
Gets
it
the
was
overlap.
very skillful from him.
Copybook overtake into the chase by Thiago Canola, and he goes up to second place. Coxon drops to third.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you know that if there is a driver you can trust when you pull out such a maneuver, that's people like Richard Coxon.
Well, that's an interesting comment, Alberto, because as many people who are watching now and people in the league know, in one manner or another, this group of drivers that we have here, and I'm talking about the mainstays, myself, you, Coxon, Acerclinth, Canola recently, Miller, and a bunch of these guys, we've all raced together with each other for the better part of 5 years, 6 years, in various vehicles, in different leagues. So everybody has kind of a mental book on each other. You know what you can do with somebody. You know you can trust somebody to do something a certain way, or maybe not trust somebody to do something a certain way in a given situation. So that's got to be factoring into this driving, you would think.
Yeah, that's for sure. We all know each other, and that translates obviously into better racing.
Some of us have met each other in person even.
That's right.
Yes.
And shared a beer or two, or even
yes.
3.
Or 4. So it looks like Canola now has asserted himself, and he's solidly into second place. They're coming up to Ślepinski here.
Yeah, whereas Jonatan has fallen back a bit.
Yeah.
I had a bit of a moment down here. Lap previous.
Well, keep it going.
Yeah, and now Canola is being held up a bit by the lap car, but Richard Coxon hasn't been able to capitalize on that. And I would guess that knowing that Canola is quicker, Richard Coxon is actually happy to play the part of the following car. Because, you know, it's not really comfortable to be there on the lead yourself when that you know is quicker right behind you. Whereas if he's in front, you can actually try to follow him, be more comfortable, and maybe even let him drag you forward.
And maybe learn a thing or two about what he's doing.
Yeah.
And bank that information later. You can see where someone's strong and where they're not as comfortable.
Oh, Tim Healy just scrapping the wall a bit. I guess that this is the mid-race is about the point where everybody tends to have a bit of a fading concentration, and then it comes back. But if you are not really on the top of your game, it may cause an accident.
Yeah, just a light scrape at Forest Elbow. Nothing to be concerned about. Tim Hillis soldiering on in 7th. He led the race briefly when we had the pit stop sequence. He went a bit longer than everybody else, so he got some TV time in first place, which was cool for him. But
Jason Whitehead, hang on, he just crashed.
Oh no! Whitehead crashes the Alfa Romeo. My goodness, and this looks like it's at the bottom of the hill. Yes. Let's have a replay of this. He's going through the S's. Apparently this happened close to the bottom of the hill.
Yes,
he loses.
Oh,
goodness. That's a very serious incident. He lost the back end coming into Forest's elbow and then nosed right into the earthen bank. Goodness, so that's I'd be surprised if he doesn't have a puncture on that car.
Yeah, now it's a matter of seeing if he tries to soldier on without the front bumper, as Juha did very successfully, or if he will be trying to do repairs. Let's see what
Well,
happens, because I don't see any icon of repairs. No, he's doing
He's
the
gonna keep going.
intelligent thing. He's trying to assess the damage in one lap. And
Probably a
Richard
smart
Wilkes
thing to do.
took the position from him. Don't forget that. So he has a clear objective in front of him.
Yeah, he doesn't want to lose the chance to overtake Wilkes. That's true.
That's his direct competition for the top 10. So
he's staying right with him. Over the brow. Is he going to make an attempt here? He's having a look, but maybe just to say, hey, I'm right here. That's about it. Mikola is a lap behind these two, so that's not a battle for position. However, the car right behind is on the same lap, and that's Brian Janik. And reminder that the points pay down to 10th place in this Lucas Vidra Trophy. So, definitely, like we always love to say, that in F1 you'll see the biggest battles for the last spot in the podium and the last points paying position. I would think that we're going to see a lot of tense racing for the last points paying position here.
And now for the stats. In the case of Thiago Canola, because after he overtook Richard Coxon, he basically took off. He's doing very steady 217s, low 217s at this point, whereas Juha Boss is doing high 217s. So it's not a huge difference. It's 0.5, 0.6, 0.7 of a second depending on the lap, but it's certainly going to be slowly eating up that distance between both of them. And remember, there is still half the race to go.
Yeah, we're just at the halfway point right now. Yeah, the gap is now between Canola and Boss a little over 9 seconds. So definitely
that would be 20 something laps to catch him up. So that would be nearly by the pit stop time. And I guess that Juha Boss will disable the repairs because he is obviously having enough of a pace here. I don't think it's worth for him to waste like 30 seconds or something like that, extra seconds changing the bumper when he is seeing that he can actually keep a decent pace as he is now.
Yeah, certainly not. While we have a moment here, it might be a good idea to get the trivia question out of the way. Is that all right with you guys?
Okay, accident. Hang on for a moment, because there was a car stopped in the SS. That was David Sabret. He's just reversing now.
Oh, goodness, yes. He's reversing now. He's had a few incidents in the S's in this race. Gets rolling again. So let's see what happened here. Oh, he just lost the back end, similar to the incident that just befell Jason Whitehead, but it was much further up the hill in this instance. God, that's got to be really stressful when you have a spin in the S's and you can't see who's coming.
Okay, and Richard Wilkes was in the pits a moment ago, so he lost the position again to Jason Whitehead.
Yes, just now exiting the pits. And
what happened there?
Well, he's lost his back bumper, so it couldn't have been a repair job. Because if it was, he would have fixed the car, I would think. But yeah, he drops down to 12th. Lipinski 11th. Janik now enters the top 10 in his Toyota. And Janik's been in the teens most of the race, so nice to see him get up into the top 10. Fellow Detroiter. Actually, there are two Detroiters in this race. Canola, I would count as a Detroiter. Even though he is Brazilian.
Who, speaking of, is right now exiting the last turn before the con straight. Whereas Juha Boss is still there, so he has already direct sight of Juha Boss.
Yeah, he can see him. Yeah, the gap is definitely dropping like a stone. 7.4 seconds now, so we're going to see a battle for the lead before long. Into the final turn, we'll see if it's dropped any further because we get a timing report here as he crosses the line. 7.1 seconds, so a little more. And into the pits, I believe, comes Mick Chapman. Yes, it is Mick Chapman, the team car to Juha Boss coming in. My heart fluttered for a second there because I'm like, uh-oh, the leader's in. But it is Juha.
Yes, and Jason White definitely didn't want to enter the pits for repairs, and rightfully so, because he has been doing nearly the same lap times without a front bumper. I mean, yes, a bit slower, but not a whole world, so to speak.
So Canola continues to reel in the leader, Juha Boss. Coxon has given up the fight for the moment. Acerclinth is in fourth.
Miller entering the pits now.
Okay.
He was in 7th position, ahead of Little Al.
It's important to remember that Miller is off sequence with everybody else. He pitted earlier because of damage sustained in an incident at the chase. So he
right there is Pascal. I think it's Pascal having a spin entering the last turn. So Little Al is passing Dave now.
Yes.
Though I would gather that since Little Al still needs to do a pit stop, obviously the order will be again reversed.
Wilkes is back in the pits again. So apparently he's got some damage that he wants to repair. So this is very costly for him. He's dropped.
Something's wrong with his car. I can see the front bumper there flashing there, so it's not fitting properly.
Yeah, he's leaving the pits now. Miller, with his pit stop, has dropped to 8th place. Whitehead now goes ahead into 8th. Miller's down to 9th. And Janet goes by, so Miller now down to 10th place. And he's exiting the pits now, so work done. Probably just tires and fuel. I doubt he was repairing anything, because whatever repairs he needed were done after. Oh, there's Mikola losing it again.
Yeah.
Goodness.
You can't say that he's not constant.
Nope. He's trying. And you can see the leader, Juha Boss, in the background there.
So there's Jonatan now in the pits, hopefully for a scheduled pit stop.
Jonathan, is this scheduled or?
More or less. I picked up a little bit too much damage for my liking, so I'm actually repairing the body for a few extra seconds of time, but hopefully it'll be perfectly fine and I'll be able to get away and be up to speed. I'm down nearly 2 seconds on what I should be able to do, so yeah, just giving it a bit of a go, see what happens. I had a good bit of gap behind as well, so I should be able to get the time back whenever the guys that's going by me now is deciding to pit.
Juha Boss now approaching Pascal Mikula, the lapped car. Whoa, tail fishing there. That was very close there. Probably lost a bit of concentration trying to calculate where was he going to pass Pascal Mikula. But yeah, that car is definitely moving a lot. So now here is the main straight, and this is the best place to actually pass. So hopefully he won't have any problems here.
I doubt he will.
But yeah, look at Thiago. I mean, he's now exiting the turn. The last time that we saw him do that, he was exiting the turn when Juha was already in the kink. So the gap is certainly
5.6 seconds.
Yep, decreased a lot.
So we're going to be doing the trivia question another time.
Yeah, and if Pascal spins again in this turn, as is the tradition. No, he doesn't, because he's going to let him by. Good move there by Pascal, not interfering. What a work
exits.
position to be for Pascal, who is more used to be in the top, in the lead, in the Formula One.
Almost 5 seconds dead now between our leader, Juha Boss, and Tiago Canola. Richard Coxon is in third, Parker fourth, Hilla in fifth now after those pit stops occurred. Acerclinth sixth, so he didn't lose too much time in that pit stop. Alberto Aquino in seventh place, Whited eighth, Janik ninth, and Dave Miller is in 10th after his pit stop. I'm going to step away for just a second. I will be right back.
And meanwhile, Brian Janik is catching up with Jason Whited. He's following him through the S's. And unless there is a lap of difference, which I don't think is the case, Jason Whited is now seeing his 8th position in peril. Brian Janik following him through the S's. They are now coming to the Conrad Straight. This should give a bit of a relief to Jason Whited, because I imagine his car is very powerful and without the front bumper, also a bit more aerodynamic. But they are coming also to a lapped car. Heading for the kink now. Brian leaving a safe distance, but getting closer now in the braking. Through the chicane. And again downhill. Going for the last turn of the track. It's Richard Wilkes who is actually in front of them. Jason Whited just negotiating the turn with Brian Janik right behind him, and we'll see what happens now when they are arriving to Richard Wilkes. First turn of the track, another 90 degrees. And Jason Whited giving it all that the poor Alpha has got, because Brian Janik is getting ever closer.
So it looks like the gap is... Oh, it's down to 4.5 seconds now between Juha and Canola.
Yes, and I was following right now Brian Janik and Jason Whited, who are fighting for the position, because with that damage, Whited has been losing ground to Brian Janik.
So apparently the Alpha doesn't perform as well as he would have hoped without a nose. Oh goodness, he's losing it on the back end though. Janik climbing the hill.
Feeling the pressure of Brian Janik right behind him.
Yes.
Problem for them is they are coming to Richard Wilkes, and it's going to happen in a very bad part of the track.
Oh yes, as they start heading downhill.
Well, that depends on the speed that Richard Wilkes can keep. There is still a gap to go. But Brian Janik is really close now to Jason Whited, and probably he knows that this downhill section is very tricky and wants to put some pressure on Whited to see if he makes an error. Because any error here downhill is obviously, well, fatal. Absolutely.
Well, Whited knows, because that's how he lost his bumper.
Exactly.
Yes, Wilkes just ahead of this group.
Yeah, he will be moving to a side.
Mm-hmm.
But we see, because Brian, if Brian gets only a bit closer, he will get a slipstream from Whited.
Oh no! Miller! What happened?
I don't know.
My goodness, he's lost his... Oh, goodness!
There goes Brian Janik. Very daring move there. Will he make it stick? No.
My goodness, Miller out of the race from 5th place. Oh my goodness, he lost control at the Skyline. On the Skyline straight, I see what happened. His tires went on the sausage curb on the outside near the kitty litter, and that was just enough to unbalance the car, and he nosed it right into the barrier. My goodness, that's too bad. And that was a really solid hit, and he's done for the day. That's too bad. Very bad.
Again in the pits. Wilkes again in the pits. So certainly something really working bad with his car. Thiago still, he got within 4 or 5 seconds of Juha Boss, but now he's there. So closest battle on the track now is between Brian Janik and Jason Whited, because Brian also arrived there, but so far hasn't been able to make a move. And I think the case here is that because it's such a long race. People are not really in a hurry. I mean, they don't want to risk anything, do anything stupid, and just throw the race away. They are basically waiting several laps behind the other cars, studying it and waiting for something to happen. Something you certainly don't see in the normal ASTC races.
No, we usually throw our cars about a little bit more and go for the move as soon as there's this tiniest bit of an opportunity.
Oh, Whited losing the back end again. That Alpha very, very skittish through this section.
Yeah, but making the Alpha sideways in this tight section is exactly the best way to block. You
I
can't
can hear
make it any wilder.
I can hear the Italian crew going normale, normale.
Well, you should know. You have driven an Alpha in real life for many years.
Yeah, the driving an Alfa Romeo is a rather interesting experience because there's little quirks about them. The Spider that I used to drive, the oil reservoir for the engine took 7 quarts of oil.
Oil.
Which is incredible. So, and it had a hydraulic clutch.
Oh, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Ouch.
What are you talking about? My Alfa Romeo or something?
Did it also have a solid axle on the rear?
I don't remember whether it did or not, but it was certainly it was a very bare bones car to drive. No power steering, and it had that very strange 45-degree angle shifter on it. My dad drove that car for quite a while, and we've sold it like a year or two ago to some guy on the west side of the state. So I'm sure, and the car was in fabulous shape. I'm sure he's enjoying it out there because there's a lot of rolling roads on the west side of the state of Michigan.
Well, if
Anyway,
you like engine tinkering, that's for sure a car you will love to have.
You better have a good European auto repair place close by. That's all I've got to say. Janik definitely is right with Whited, but can't seem to find a way by right now. Maybe he's just studying him still.
Canola may be a bit closer now to Juha Boss, but still not in striking distance.
Oh, goodness. K.O. McKeels he gets the award for the groaner joke of the broadcast. His reply to Dave Miller going out of the race, no more Miller time. Whatever. Yeah, that's almost as bad as when Taro Palmroth went out at the Detroit Grand Prix one year, and David Hobbs says he's what you could call a finished driver. Yeah, I know, that's bad. So, hats off to Jason Whited. He's holding his own here versus Janik.
There was some pressure, yeah, but he sailed
Subsided.
through very, very nicely. Because he has now opened a bit of a gap.
Meanwhile, Thiago has closed the gap to the leader to 2 seconds.
Yeah, and Bose has responded. He's been driving quicker as well, so both of them going all out at the moment, it seems like.
Yeah, it's a fight in the distance, which is nearly as interesting as the one that is close by. When you see lap times that are evidencing that the drivers are responding to the challenge. Because people usually don't realize how much risk is involved, how much concentration is needed in actually doing that. So it's a distant fight, but it's certainly an all-out knife fight.
Exiting Murray's corner, and now that you can see the leader in the same picture. So things could get very interesting here quickly. 1.5 seconds now is the gap between Juha Boss, our leader, Sans front bumper, and Thiago Canola, the pole sitter of this race, about an hour and 51 minutes ago.
And I think that Juha Boss will be watching his hold very carefully, which is the replacement of the virtual group we don't have, just to know what the gap to Richard Coxon has been all this time, because he might know that he will lose the race to Thiago Canola sooner or later, but he probably will be thinking, what if I put again my front bumper? Will I lose the position to Richard Coxon? Will it pay off?
I don't know. That's got to be going through his mind right now. in addition to trying to keep the car on that gray ribbon.
Yeah, first of all, of course, destroy as much as he can Thiago's pace once Thiago is right behind him. And then think about the rest. And there goes Richard Coxon in a very solid third position. And we've been talking before the race, and well, you all know he has a personal condition where he tires a lot. So he was curious to see what would happen actually in such a long race, because the longest he has been doing race recently has been the Formula One races, which are about less than 2 hours normally. And you can do ovals, you can do quick long races like the Indy 500 and such, but that's something different. It's a bit more monotonous, and it's something different, okay? But a road race of 3 hours, that's something very tolling on you.
Coxon has turned in some amazing drives so far this year in the F191 series, driving the Dallara Judd. And certainly this proves, not that we need any proof of it, but it proves that he's capable in just about any car on the AMS platform. Oh, running a bit wide there.
We should also mention the brilliant race that Tim Hill is doing. Because very discreetly, very silently, but he's there in the 5th position with that Works BMW. And the fact that you don't see him near the top normally in Formula One is just because he's really driving a true dog of a car. But the quality of his driving is really shining today. I mean, give the guy a chance, and there you got it.
Yeah, he's doing fantastic. He led briefly earlier when we had the first pit stop cycle. But yeah, 5th place for him right now is a fantastic
Brian
drive.
finally made it past Jason Whitehead. It's a pity that we missed that.
Well, we can look at it and replay. Oh, well, maybe not. It happened a while ago. Apologies, but yes, Brian definitely is past Whitehead at this point. And the gap is holding steady now at 1.5 seconds between Canola and Juha Boss. Pit stop should be coming up in about 10 laps from now.
Oh, Richard Wilkes has finally decided to retire the car.
Well, whatever problem he had, it was something that he was not able to fix. So probably figured it wasn't worth soldiering on. And this happened actually before Miller retired, so he must have missed it. But that's too bad. So we now have in total, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 retirements. 13 cars left in the race out of a field of 22 that started.
Yeah, the Darwinian selection has taken place. And
Yes.
only the best drivers are now around.
Natural selection. It's only natural. I gotta say, I'm amazed that Juha is able to keep going with a damaged car like that and not
Yeah, he's
fix
doing
it.
a brilliant race.
It's
I mean, no
really,
matter the result today, it's really hats off to him.
into the final corner.
And Coxon is not really that far away.
No, he's not, actually.
Maybe it's the case of Thiago Canola not being able to pull out his real rhythm because Juha is in front, but Richard is certainly not falling back.
No, he's staying within shouting distance of this group. And
Whereas
he's got
our
about
friend Jonatan is also closing a bit on Tim Hiller. I'm sure he's looking at that.
a little bit. Coxon also has the benefit of he has a 37-second pad between himself and Parker, so at least he doesn't have anyone bearing down on him.
Yes,
so,
Steve is coming now through the last turn to take the... There he goes to the start-finish line. And Thiago is really now close to you,
yes, 6/10 now, so definitely...
It's already in the, so to speak, uncomfortable distance.
When David Saber has finally decided to park the car as well.
So that's another retirement. We're down to 12 cars now in the race. Coming through the S's, down to the bottom of the hill, through Forest's Elbow, and now onto the Conrad Straight. And this is where Tiago will start to feel the pull of the slipstream. There's a couple of lapped cars in front of them here they're going to have to deal with before long. That Nissan very fast in the hands of Tiago Canola.
Anything is quick in the hands of Tiago.
That's true. Even
He's really a talent, that guy.
Even a 2-year-old eagle. Tiago won the last race. We had the Trentonian 200, which is a USAC race, and he did so being Johnny on the spot when the leaders crashed in the or came together and lost time in the kink, and he just slipped on by and won the race under yellow.
Man, I just hate having been unable to do that race. I was so much looking forward to that stupid internet. Oh,
well, I think I can speak for everyone when to say that we enjoyed your handiwork. The track was fantastic. It went off without a hitch. There were no problems. And
I'm
people
looking
in general,
forward to being there in Michigan. Michigan has been a very successful track for me in the past, so fingers crossed there.
You've done well at Michigan. You've won 500 milers there before in other leagues, and you also won one of our favorite races of all time, where you beat Dana Schurer to the line by like a couple of pixels.
Yeah, that was actually Texas, but anyways.
Similar track.
Yeah, and who knows? We might be racing Texas again next year.
Uh-oh, we got a yellow flag up here. It looks like someone's off the track.
That's
yes,
Mick
it's
Chapman.
It's Mick Chapman.
He
Mick Chapman
probably
is
just made room for the leaders. Oh, look at that. Juha got distracted and he hit the wall.
He did. This could be
Now
Canola's
Tiago's
opportunity.
smelling the blood in the water.
This could be Tiago's opportunity.
I can see the shark fin popping up his roof.
Oh, man.
And also to note for you guys in the commentary booth, brake saturation and fade is starting to set in. So if they try a no braking maneuver, there could be some aftermath to that.
Well, you had an excellent exit from Forest's Elbow there, so...
Darius is in the pits now, just for the info.
Yep.
Not sure if it's repair as scheduled.
He's been soldiering on without a bumper on either end for quite a while. I'm surprised he would suddenly decide to fix it now. As they come into the chase, Canola right with Juha now. Oh, goodness. He may have a shot here as they come into... yeah, he takes a look up, just a slight look up the inside, decides better.
No, my bet is that it will be going into the uphill turn when they go up the mountain, because he needs that big straight
Quarry.
there. He's taking it easy here to have a good exit out of here. Look at that. That was very clean without sliding.
Yes.
That's exactly what he wanted, and now try to get the slipstream. But obviously, Juha Boss also knew it.
Interesting
and that factory Peugeot has a very powerful engine, so...
Interesting that Tiago's wrench icon is on, but as we know, sometimes the pit crew calls for a pit stop when it's not necessary, or so that may not mean anything. But Tiago right with him now. Jason Whitehead just ahead. Tiago looking for daylight around the Peugeot. Oh, he might have had a shot there going into the cutting, but he decided against it.
Yeah, he wants just to let Juha know that he's there.
Yeah, he's just saying hello.
Putting pressure, and he obviously knows they are coming to lap traffic, and it's trying to make Juha a bit nervous there when negotiating the traffic.
Oh God, another groaner joke from KO. You have to run faster than boss. You have to run faster, boss.
KO, you should be driving here instead of making jokes.
Yeah, no kidding. What do you do? Don't quit your day job, KO. Into the final turn, my goodness.
Man, Juha Boss did it well there because he made a bit of a gap with Tiago. So
Yeah,
that he's able now to overtake Jason Whitehead. And with some luck, he will be able to put Whitehead behind him and between Thiago Canola and himself.
Yeah, Juha has been exiting Forrest's elbow much better than Thiago in the last 2 laps in succession, so his car is very comfortable there.
Yeah, good maneuver there for Jason White. It's very clean, letting the other cars by.
And Canola into the pits. This is a little early for a routine stop.
That's right on the spot for 27, 26 laps.
Okay.
Well, that's the reason then why he didn't really push it and try to overtake Juha Boss, because what was the point here? I mean, he was just trying to force him into an error to lose time, and now we'll watch Juha Boss lap times, because he should be pushing it as much as he can, just to be sure that when he makes his pit stop, he will be again in the lead.
So with this pit stop, Coxon moves up to 2nd place. Canola drops to 3rd. Parker should be coming by now, I would think. Oh, he's got a little ways to go yet.
Pascal Mikula again spinning in the same turn.
In hell corner, yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. Canola exits the pits. This is going to be close here. See if he maintains his 3rd place.
So he's falling now right behind Steve Parker.
Yeah, Parker goes ahead of him. Just now, you see him there in the corner. Parker goes into 3rd place. Canola drops to 4th.
This shouldn't be too hampering for him, because Steve is obviously on a quicker rhythm now, because Thiago is on cold tires and with a heavy car. But we'll see what happens now.
We still have to see Coxon and Boss make their pit stops.
Yes, let's watch our leader, who is going downhill now, right behind Brian Janik. And we'll see if he decides to go for the pit or if he's extending it a bit.
Coming for the chase now.
It's Brian Janik, actually, who goes to the pits.
Yep. Janik into the pits from 8th place.
Whited also, who was
Whited also
Brian
in the
Janik
pits,
and
okay.
trying to fight back. Let's see if he puts his front bumper on or not. Yes, he's doing repairs.
Okay. He's actually turned the motor off, so yeah, there's further confirmation that he's getting repairs. And Janik.
Pascal Mikula also into the pits. With all those spins, it's a miracle that his car has still all the bumpers and doors and everything.
All right, Brian Janik exiting the pits, and he will undoubtedly go up to 8th now, as Whited is got repairs in progress. Yes, Whited still in the pits. Janik maintains 8th position despite the pit stop.
Juha was bruising the wall there. He's probably already on very worn tires, halfway into the sand. He's pushing it so as to be sure, as we expected, to be in front of Thiago Canola once he exits his pit stop. And I would gather that maybe he's going in this lap.
So it appears, based on when people are pitting, that it definitely is there's gonna have to be a 3rd and final stop, like a splash and dash for these cars.
Yes,
and that will definitely determine who's going to win, or it certainly will have an effect on the outcome.
Thiago has been lapping really slowly, whereas Juha Boss, as expected, has done a 2:17 in the last lap. He's really pushing it. He wants to be sure of the outcome once he's out of the pits. And I expect him to enter this lap or the next at the latest. No icon yet for him. He's moving right. No. No pit yet
Nope.
for him. Interesting that he still had enough fuel to soldier on.
Coxon also staying out.
And Thiago a bit, I'm not going to say blocked by Steve Parker, because Steve has his own good rhythm. But with the heavy car and the cold tires laced on the first lap, he is certainly not yet able to overtake. Steve in podium position. By the way, another guy who we haven't talked much about, but who is usually there, always at the end in the very top positions.
Good to see Parker have a good run for a change. These two are going to stay out.
Whitey is out now. With
Oh,
his repairs
no.
done. And
out of the pits, you mean? Okay.
Yes, out of the pits, and not really that far off from Brian Jennings, so the repairs must have been really quick. I mean, there is a sizable gap, but it's not as if he's really that far off. I mean, he can theoretically make it in the race, in the remainder of the race. If he goes quick enough.
Interesting.
Now exiting the last turn.
Yeah, here he
Brian
comes.
Jennings is still on it, and we will have to watch the lap times carefully there.
Well, I can't imagine it would be any worse than what he's been doing. He's definitely going to be an improvement.
So Thiago is now trying to overtake Steve Parker, which, remember, is also for third position.
Yes.
So Steve can rightfully defend here. And you have also signal in pits now. But yeah, I mean, he will be helped a lot by the fact that he has been able to put two or three very quick laps, and that Thiago is now stuck behind Steve Parker. Okay, there goes our leader.
Yes.
Into the pits.
Into the pits now comes Juha Boss. This is stop number 2 of 3.
Coxon now will get the lead.
Yeah, Coxon exits the final corner to take the lead.
Whereas Thiago and Steve are going now downhill. They are now into the backstretch, heading for the king. And Juha Boss still in the pits.
And he is not going to repair that front bumper. He's going to stay the way he is. So tires and fuel only for the Ultron Peugeot 406.
Car is on the ground now again.
Car comes down.
Also rear.
Still waiting for Parker.
Into the pits. Parker
also coming in.
Thiago
Okay.
about to do. And Juha still in the pits. That's been a long pit stop. Now he's exiting, and look at that. Look at Thiago. Look at Thiago.
Canola's going to go up to second place. Yeah, oh, goodness. Very close, but Thiago goes up to second place. Boss down to third. Parker exiting the... No, he's just now pulling into his pit stall, actually. Tim Hilla staying out, so Tim Hilla will rise one position in the standings.
So it's a matter now of when does Richard Coxon enter the pits.
Yes.
Because he's the leader now. But well, that was skillful. I don't know if it was calculated or it happened like that, but Thiago really got the lead like that.
All right, so on to Conrad Strait again. We'll see if Richard Coxon comes in. There's no wrench icon in his car.
The Steve Parker going out of the pits now. It was also quite long pit stop.
Yeah, that's surprisingly long, actually.
I think Little Al is coming into the pits now also. We see. Yes, he's going in now. I'm not sure if this will be enough for a two-stop strategy.
It won't. No, all these guys are going to have to come in one more time.
Yeah.
It's way too... There's no way they can do that. They'd have to run at a snail's pace to make it from here. Coxon continuing on, though.
And Thiago has already opened a bit of a gap with Juha Boss, which was to be expected since Juha came out with more fuel and obviously with cold tires. Both will have to stop again, as you say, for a splash and dash, which should be obviously less in the case of Juha Boss. I mean, he will be having less weight on board, and as we all know, this can make these cars very much noticeably quicker. This is one of the one of the type of cars where the fuel load is really very noticeable.
To your point earlier, Alberto, about Coxon in the pit cycle previously, he didn't have the free range in front of him that he would have liked to open up a gap. In this case, he does. So this is the opportunity that he wished he had had the previous pit cycle and didn't have. Taking the car right to the wall there at Sulman Park.
Yeah, he's really pushing it. I mean, this last lap was a bit slower, but there's been 2:17 so far, which indicates that he's really pushing. Juha Boss there also glancing the wall. Still no lap time from him after the pit stop. We'll be having to wait a bit.
Oh,
Coxon's... I can tell his last lap before the pit, it was bad. It was 2:19, and that's where he lost the position to Thiago Canola, actually.
Coxon's wrench icon has come on, so we can expect his presence in the pit lane shortly. Yep, staying to the left. Here comes Sheffield, England's Richard Coxon into the pits. Night racing. Oh my goodness, he slams the wall going into the pit lane. Oh my goodness, what a disaster. Oh, he was not planning on that. This is going to change the complexion of the race, most certainly.
But it's a shame because he was going to be the one with less fuel on board and the quickest car.
He's lost his front bumper, obviously, after that impact. Oh, he's decided he's not going to fix it. So,
yeah, I wasn't in the chat with him, but I can imagine his reaction. Oops.
I'm guessing it was a bit more colorful than the word oops. All right, so this means that Canola, where is he? Now coming out of the final turn. Boss not far behind him. Canola assumes the lead of this race. Boss goes up to second place. So
Coxon
where
starts moving now.
Coxon's exiting the pits now. Tim Hilla just now coming onto the main straight. Parker in fifth. He's still on Conrad. So, man, hair-raising moments here. We've got about...
Migula has spun again. This time in the chicane after the king.
I hope that people aren't playing a drinking game with that, because then we'd have alcohol poisoning problems.
But you gotta give the devil its due. I mean, Pascal might not be happy at all with the car, but that he is soldering on.
Well, he's in 11th place, and he knows that...
place, yes, but remember that we are here in the Luca Pitra Trophy, and that he won the Nürburgring opening race. So
he did.
He has the motivation to stay here because he can collect points, and he wants to mount a challenge for that trophy.
Looking at the points situation now, for those of you who didn't tune in originally, Pascal is tied for the lead with Canola, 15 points apiece. In the Lucas Vidra Trophy, and points are paid down to 10th place. So, yeah, he has every reason to keep soldiering on, because he, depending on what happens attrition-wise in the next 20 or so laps, he can definitely... it'll have a big bearing on whether he can win the Lucas Vidra Trophy at the end. But Canola leading If he can win this thing, he's got another 15 points, possibly 30 total.
Yep, and next round of the Lucas Vidra Trophy is incoming in the following month, because the Indianapolis 500 that we will be doing in the USAC will also count towards the same trophy.
That's true. Oh, Pascal all out of shape going into the S's.
And Coxon is stuck behind Brian Janik. I mean, he obviously can expect Brian Janik to make it easy for him, but he has been even hitting walls and like that because he's on a very heavy car. So I understand that Brian Janik is a bit hesitant to let him in front because it's not clear that Richard has a quicker pace at this point.
True, yeah. We'll have to keep an eye on Coxon's lap times because
they are going now uphill, and here's where it can really start to hurt Richard.
Yeah, because of washout.
Tim Hille has now that icon indicating pit stop, though he was in the pits already not long ago, so must be the crew getting anxious.
Probably.
Yeah, Richard is certainly glancing all the walls now, hitting the curbs, and that's because he still has to adjust to the different aerodynamics of his car without the front bumper.
But as Juha has shown us, you can adjust to it.
You can, yes. Pascal is now coming out of the pits. No, but he's stopping the car in the middle of the pits. What's going on here? He's reversing. Oh, he's heading into the garage.
Oh, Pascal is retiring from the race.
Yeah, he's calling the day. He's obviously already tired and, well...
Well, that's too bad.
He's not quitting? Yes, he quits now. Well, it's a shame.
So we have 10 cars remaining, so now everybody who's running gets points. And Coxon finally has dealt with Brian Janik. See if Tim Hille comes in this time. I would think he probably would if the icon's on. Yes, he's coming into the pits now. He's kept that car in pretty pristine order so far. You can see there's a slight dent on the right-hand side, and he's got a dent in the middle of the front bumper. But other than that, the car seems in good shape.
Yeah, not just that. His lap times are certainly very consistent.
Let's see if he can get out ahead of Steve Parker. The gap to Steve is 38 seconds. I would think maybe he could get out ahead of him. We'll see.
Hard to tell.
Gonna be
is
close.
Now in the final SS.
Yeah, Steve coming out of the chase. Yeah, I think
for sure this is going to be the last stop for Tim Hille. So he's going to be challenging Steve.
It's going to be close. It's going to be close.
There comes Steve. Start finish line for him. Tim Hille still in the pits. Not yet moving. Not yet moving. Still in the now starts moving. So it's about that main stretch of advantage that Steve will be getting. Not even that, because Tim is already out of the pits accelerating. Well, that's a fair chance for Tim to do something in this race.
Actually, now Coxon is back behind Brian Janik again.
Yeah,
so
I can see the repairs icon on his car, so maybe the pit stop has been called.
So he's made the decision that he can't soldier on this way.
We should be watching Tim Hille and Steve Parker because Tim is on fresh tires. Steve has already some laps in them. And I don't think that Steve has to stop anymore in this race.
Yes, Coxon indeed has the wrench logo on, so he is coming in. Obviously, the car just isn't handling to his liking without that nose, so rough luck for Richard.
Yeah, he's going into the pits now.
And so is little Al.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Final pit stop for him.
Alberto, could I ask you a favor, please?
Yes.
Could you do a calculation on 2.75 liters for the remaining laps? Will I make? How many laps can I make on that? I have 56 divided by 275, please.
56?
Yep.
$2.75. That's 20.3 laps.
It's going to be close.
Yep. Then I'll probably do a bit more fuel saving here before I go chase after Tim.
Well, if you're on lap 61, you should be doing it with no problem.
Steve Parker is now in third place, overtaking Coxon. Tim Hilla also advances now. And Coxon, that was a quick pit stop considering the damage that needed to be repaired. Here he comes out of the pits, so now it's Coxon's job to see if he can gain back some of that.
Little Al just came out of the pits in 10th position behind Cesarius. I don't know if Cesarius has to stop again. But it seems he had been closing on. And Jason Whited went to 8th position here.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I didn't think that Little Al has lost so much ground. Well. So Richard, after his repairs, is in 5th position.
So he's going to really have to make hay now. We'll have to watch him see how he does versus...
And we have Little Al pursuing Cesarius. And I don't remember when was Cesarius' last pit stop, but...
He's been out of sequence because he had damage earlier.
Yes. And I think Cesarius, I'm looking at the lap times. He stopped 10 laps ago. So I would expect that there is still the pit stop for him to do. Whereas in the case of Jason White, he stopped 9 laps ago. So I think both will be stopping. In which case, well, Little Al would be overtaking them.
And depending on how much fuel Coxon took on, he may be able to go to the end, would you think?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yes, yes.
And Brian Janik, I'm not sure when it was the last time that he stopped, because all the
Little Al is spun at the chase.
Oh.
No contact, but gets the car going again.
Well, hopefully he didn't lose a lot of time there. He wasn't that far away from Cesarius, but he really needs to keep his act together because Cesarius has to stop yet once.
So this will be the lap that tells the tale for Coxon, because now he's at
Brian
a lap to...
is now hitting there in the S's all the worlds like a pinball.
Oh my goodness.
And I don't know... I think he should be entering the pits because from the lap times that I've been watching, he hasn't been in the pits for a long time. Whited is now getting close to him after the repairs that he did. He's getting into the rhythm again. And not that far away though. Whoa. Whited also fish styling there. He's really pushing it, knowing that Brian Janik is not that far away. Whoops, Steve glancing the wall and hitting it there also in the SS.
Oh boy, Steve, look out.
This concentration is really starting to take...
Yeah, people are... And it's funny, like, you know, we saw lapses earlier, but seems like there's more lapses now than we would have thought towards the end of the race. But people are very tired. Excuse me. It's getting to me, too.
Yeah, I was going to say... exemplified by our main broadcaster having a bit of a...
Sorry about that.
And that's perfectly understandable. It's been a long week and
yeah,
a long race in this one. A lot of action.
Steve doesn't look any the worse for wear.
Yeah, as long as you don't hit the wall too hard, it's you're pretty much okay around here. I think glancing blows aren't a killer. It's more when just like they talk about NASCAR, like NASCAR in the 90s. It wasn't really the ones where you scraped along the wall that was the problem. It was when you headed straight up and just stopped in a matter of a half a second.
Okay, this is interesting. Alberto, if you look at Steve on board, it looks like his wheel is at about 1230. So it looks like he's driving with damage on that car.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, he had already 2 bad hits. I saw at least one of them, and the car was already... And yeah, he's clearly not entering the turns that quick. We'll see. Let me check his lap times. Yeah, he's definitely like 2 seconds slower on the last lap.
Oh! Jason Whitehead having a really scary moment on the S's. Got to be careful.
Another scary moment, we should say.
Another one. And the gap between Coxon and Tim Hille is about 5.3 seconds, so we should keep an eye on that, because with those new tires in that front end, I would think Coxon would probably reel in Tim without too much trouble.
Yeah,
We'll
but
see.
also is the case for Tim and Steve Parker, because look at that. Tim Hille has already Steve in his sight, and Steve has a crippled car. And that's the podium position. Well, it's going to be a really interesting race finish.
Yeah, I don't know. Canola's looking really strong, but who knows what'll happen in the closing laps here.
It's interesting because after so many laps in such a long run, you've got... Well, Canola is obviously in striking distance for Juha Boss. Any error should happen. But then, when you go backwards from that, you can see that there is Tim Hille with the ability to catch up with Steve Parker, Richard Coxon with the chance to catch up with Tim Hille. And then you got behind them also a fight between Brian Janik and Jason Whitehead. Jason is catching up with Brian. Same goes for Cesarius and Little Al. The main difference is that I think that Whitehead, Cesarius, and maybe Brian, they all have to stop, whereas that's not the case for Little Al. So it might be really confusing towards the end, because we can see many positions shifting.
Well, we thought that might be the case. So with 15 laps to go, Canola leads, Boss in second, Parker third, Hille fourth, Coxon fifth, Acerclinth sixth, Janik in seventh, Whitehead eighth, Schlapinski ninth, Little Al is in 10th. 11th and out of the race, Mikkola, 12th, out of the race, Chapman. The rest of these are all DNFs. Saber, Miller, Wilkes, Alberto Ibañez, Gabriel Sturr, Ray Riddall, Bruno Chacon, Raul Yareb, Fredrickson, and Adam Hackman.
So I'm looking, and Janik stopped in lap 54. So he has 11 laps, and he should be stopping. Well, that will be hurting, because he would be stopping around lap 74, 75.
Oh, goodness. That's going to be not a very fortunate timing to stop.
Cesario stopped on lap 51, and Jason Whitehead did so on lap 54, also, same as Brian Janik.
All right, so that'll be an interesting shuffle to watch towards the end.
Yeah. Whereas Little Al stopped on lap 57. So if he can do 23 laps on his full time, then he can be probably overtaking them. But I'm not sure if 23 laps is something possible.
Yeah, it is. 27 is the limit.
Okay.
For most cars.
Meanwhile,
that's if he filled up full tank, obviously.
Yeah.
Tim Hilla is closing in on Steve Parker now, so we could see a battle for third place. When was the last time Tim Hilla pitted, I wonder?
He pitted about 5 to 7 laps ago.
Oh, well, there you go.
If
He
it's
should be
27
good on
laps
fuel.
on a tank, if it's 27 laps on a tank, then White wouldn't need to stop because he stopped on lap 54, and that's also the case for Brian Janik, but not for Cesarius, I think.
As we watch Tim Hilla reel in Steve Parker, he's not going to be able to overtake him here at Quarry Bend, but he's certainly sizing him up. He might have another shot before they get to the cutting. I doubt it.
No hurry here because
none.
The crippled car, I think the team knows very well that Steve is not going to be able to put a fight.
Yeah, here it's single file through.
Whoops, there for Tim Hiller. Light in the rear.
And now the downhill drop begins.
Yeah, this is a position where you have to be careful because you both have to be there ready for any error, but also leave some room because if the car is Steve Parker's car, if he loses control here, it's very easy that he takes you with him. So here's where the factory engine of the BMW from Team Hille could make the difference.
Yep. Yeah, he definitely has the legs. You can see it.
Yeah.
And Parker's not going to put up a big... into the chase.
I think this late in the race he will try.
Oh, look at that. There he goes.
There.
My goodness. Let's have a look at that in a replay.
Look at that because Richard Coxon is right behind Steve now, thanks to this error. Richard Coxon is probably able to capitalize on this.
Yeah, Steve just totally...
Poor Steve, because from podium position, he's going to be in a top 5 very soon.
Yep. Oh, he flashes his lights. Apparently, he's going to let Coxon by on this corner.
There's no sense in that, and Steve is a perfect sportsman, and he knows. There's no sense. I mean, he's probably thinking, Richard will avenge me from Team Hille. Though, Jonatan, you're not really that far behind.
Yeah, but my lap times are a bit off. I'm using more fuel than I did before, so I think my damage is causing me to use fuel.
The interesting thing to note here is that the gap between Coxon and Tim Hille has remained relatively constant, about 5.5 seconds, and it hasn't changed much in the last few laps. So Tim Hille is holding his own. I thought that Coxon would be able to reel him in with the new tires and the front bumper repaired. I guess not. Yeah, in fact, the gap is increasing. It's now almost 6 seconds. So Tim doing an excellent job here against one of our premier stars here at ISO.
Yes.
He's certainly gotten that car up to good speed, as we said. Really good effort. Oh.
All right, I think we can do the trivia answer now. All right, so the question was, Jeff Brabham and David Brabham won the 1997 AMP Bathurst 1000 driving what make and model of car? Was it A, a Volvo 850, B, a Vauxhall Vectra, or C, a BMW 320i?
Since I know for certain, I don't get to answer.
All right.
Well, I don't know, but since I have a BMW, I'm going for BMW.
That's the correct answer. BMW.
Yeah, it was the quickest car in the season, I think, so no wonder.
Jonathan's driving a pretty lonely race right now.
Yeah, whereas
Yeah, it's
Jason White, it's really looking at catching up with Brian Janik. Not really that far away. He only has him inside. Yes, he has him inside.
Yeah,
will
he
be
does
looking at him.
briefly.
So White wants revenge from that previous situation where he had to concede the position when he was without the front bumper.
My
Whoops!
goodness. He's having to fight that car all the way around. My goodness.
Too much eagerness there. And Vitalal is also catching up with Cesarius, though Cesarius will still have to stop, so it's not really a fight at this point. Oh, Cesarius going off into the sand. Fortunately, he recovered.
Yeah, he seems okay now. Yeah, he just ran a little wide there at McPhillamy Park. Nothing crazy.
And another lap for Brian Janik, trying to make the most he can of his car to keep Jason Whited in check. Brian's laps have been in the 220 bracket, whereas in the case of Jason Whited, he has occasionally done the 220, but he's mostly doing 219s. So he's certainly closing in.
The gap between Coxon and Tim Hilla continues to increase, 6.5 seconds. So hats off to Tim. Fantastic drive today.
for sure, and that's definitely one of the biggest things about this, especially this kind of race, but Bathurst in particular, that you stay out of trouble, you don't pick up any damage.
Yeah, I think that at this point, both in Formula One and here, the quality driving we have seen by Tim Healy was about time it was rewarded with the podium. So let's hope it continues like that.
I'm a little bit disappointed personally. I was hoping for a win, but it is what it is in my case. I brought my lowly but sixth position myself here.
You handicapped yourself too much. You should have picked the Hyundai.
It's not the car, it's my driving tonight. I'm been a little bit too erratic. Started on lap 1 by hitting the wall down at first elbow and spiraled from there.
So the gap between Juha and Canola right now is 8.5 seconds.
Whereas Whited is closing in on Brian Janik. 69 laps for Brian Janik in a moment.
Well, 68. He's going into 69.
Yeah, 16 going into the 69th lap, yes. And laps can't go by quick enough for him.
Yeah, Boss doesn't have to worry about Tim Hilla. Tim is a minute and 13 seconds behind Juha right now. So basically it's down to can Juha make any inroads into the lead. And the gap has actually gone up a bit. It's now 9 seconds. So Canola now heading down onto the Conrad Straight again, and he's got to do this 10 more times now. 10 laps to go, this time by in the second round of the Lucas Vidra Trophy here at ISO. Tiago's driving obviously has been good in this race, but he's also been the recipient of some good luck. the incident that he had early on didn't damage the car appreciably. So he's been and he's been the benefactor of good luck in other series. He was the benefactor of good luck in USAC on Sunday, last Sunday.
And to be fair, his fortunate timing in... Sorry, he didn't win. Did he win last time out in Lucas Vidra?
Yes, he did. He won the other class, which is why he's tied with you.
Yeah, then he was fortunate there as well, because he decided to go on what he thought was the second to last lap, but he actually got it on the last lap for them and took the win there as well.
Yeah, holding steady at 9 seconds now. Oh, goodness. Canola runs a bit wide onto a sausage curb there at Quarry Bend. Won't want to do that too much. Okay, interesting. Coxon now is closed in a bit on Tim Hill. The gap is now 3.7 seconds. So either Tim made a mistake or Coxon has suddenly found some rhythm that he didn't have before. Comments?
Could be a bit of both. I mean, we're getting close to the end of the race, so Tim could be just pacing himself a little bit, trying to find the pace Richard is running and just trying to stay consistent and try to avoid using the car too much. There's still 10 laps. There's still 10 laps for the brakes to fail, for example, if that were to happen for anyone.
Well, we certainly don't wish that on anybody, but this has been a pretty incredible race. A lot of good scraps, interesting strategies, and people coming back from misfortune, which is always interesting to watch.
Yeah, that's the case for Jason Whitehead, probably. With a crippled car, and still he has been able to soldier onto 8th position. He is now hunting Brian Janik for 7th. And if they don't have to stop again, which could actually be the case, they can consolidate that position.
But it must be said that Whitehead is on a ragged edge every corner. So...
yeah, that's someone who will be sleeping well tonight.
Yes, he'll definitely be tuckered out by the time this is over. Yep, 10 laps to go. Canola leads. Boss is second. Hilla is third. Coxon is fourth. Parker fifth. Acerclinth sixth. Janik is 7th. Whitehead is 8th, and Jason Whitehead has gone onto the grass. That's not going to help his chances of overtaking Janik. Slapinski 9th, and the last car running, Alberto Aquino, is in 10th. And Tim Hilla's gap to Coxon has opened up again a little bit. It's now 4 seconds and change. And the gap between the leader and Juha is maintained relatively constant. It's 8 seconds and change. So it doesn't appear that Juha can do much with Tiago at this point. It's going to be, like you guys said, it's going to be a question of making a mistake or some kind of brake fade or something going wrong or a pit snafu.
Yeah, I think that at this point of the race, barring Jason Whitehead, everybody would be happy if it finished next lap.
Lots of broken and battered cars out there.
I can certainly sign up for on that train, I think.
Yes. Our friend Johnny Aces will take one of those, please.
I wouldn't mind a glass of milk or something after the race. I know it's not Indianapolis, but
it's not Indianapolis. You can't do that.
But you can take orange juice.
I'll have an orange juice or a beer then.
Yeah, that makes a beer would make more sense since we're in Australia.
Yeah, I think I'll stop at the top of the hill and have a walk over and see if any of the fans have an extra one available for us.
Yeah.
Knowing the way they do it in Australia, is apparently, well, from what I've heard, they actually bury. They go in early and bury extra beer and stuff in there just so that they have an extra stack in case what they bring on race day and stuff is too little.
Those Aussies.
I just watched with Little Al yesterday the opening race of the 1994 kart season.
Oh!
Yeah, because I mean we're in lockdown, and well, Little Al wanted to have me some kind of gift for Father's Day, which is the 19th of March here, and he just downloaded the whole 94 season because it's one of my favorites, and burned it into a DVD and said, "Here you have, and let's watch it together." So we were in Australia also yesterday, in Surfer's Paradise.
That's an excellent circuit. Apparently, Jonatan had a bit of a wall contact here.
Yeah, pretty big one.
Yes, Jason Whited climbing his particular mountain again.
Oh, damn! Yeah, Jonatan, that looked a bit severe. How's the car?
Slight bit of damage on the left front. Wants to turn a little bit too much to the right, so too close to the race finish to actually.
Well, you got a minute and change on you got a minute gap.
But knowing the damage, I think it's better that I just soldier on rather than.
Yeah, Thiago Canola just signaled very briefly the pits, which means obviously he's not going to pit, but that they are starting to run low on fuel, because that's when the crew gets nervous and automatically calls you to the pit when there's fuel for only a few laps.
Yep. Time running out here on second race in the Lucas Vidra Trophy.
8 laps to go. Jason Whited now very close to Brian Janik.
Yeah, he
with that Alpha.
He recovered from that off-course excursion pretty quickly.
Yeah, but remember that, as we have said so many times, arriving there is one thing and overtaking is a very different one, especially when you got someone like Brian Janik in front, who knows how to make the car very wide.
Also, pardon my wording if what I was about to say came through the mic.
No, you're fine. It was actually me who decided to not make it a family program. not you. So, no, you were fine. Yeah, he's definitely reeling him in, but it's a question of Jason not making mistakes.
Whoops, Cesarius just hit the wall badly there. He was able to recover, but that will get Little Al even closer.
That Volvo has seen better days. Oh yeah, he ran into the wall just coming off of Forrest's elbow. Oh, I see what happened. He glanced the wall on the inside and it shot the car to the outside.
Yeah, that's a classic.
Track where everything is like pinball. I mean, if you hit something, you're bound to hit something else very quickly.
Yeah, that's. I don't know if you guys remember, but I think it was like 2004, maybe, for the V8 Supercars race.
Oh no! 2 wheels for Cesarius. Goodness, sorry about that, Jonatan.
That's okay. I hope he survived.
He's okay.
I think it was the morning warm-up. They were doing some shakedown runs, and one of the Holden Young Lions drivers took just a bit too much on the inside, arrived towards the outside barrier at, I don't know what kind of speed we are getting, but like 60, 70 kph there, I think. And he just more or less front-ended the wall, and the car made a jump up in the air when it struck, so it looked like it was kangarooing like 2 meters up in the air with the car, and then it came to a rest. One of those very vivid and often showed. clips when you show spills from Bathurst.
And Richard Coxon seems to have found an additional gear because he's really closing in on Tim Hiller now.
Oh yeah, the gap is now down to a little less than 3 seconds.
Maybe that was some kind of error for Tim Hiller. Let me check his lap times.
It might have been because that gap has really been accordioning back and forth.
It's not I mean, his lap times are more or less steady, more or less. There isn't anything there that is telling of any kind of incident. But wait a moment, because he's about to cross the start-finish line now, and we'll see what the lap time was this lap. No, certainly not a normal lap time. So it must have been Richard Coxon that has been speeding up. Yeah, certainly. He has been doing very constant 217s. So he's on the hunt now.
So we could see more high drama before this race is over.
Whited unable to close more on Brian Janik.
Funny, little Al is now right with Steve Parker.
Yeah, he wants to pass and go for Cesarius, who has been losing ground to him. Parker will accelerate and give him a bit of a tow until little Al...
Oh,
yeah, there you go.
Parker is letting him go, yeah.
That's understandable. He's in 5th position and no real danger, so he may as well.
But I would say that Cesarius still has to stop, though, with only 6 laps to go. Hard to tell. But yeah, anything unexpected can happen.
Man,
and if Coxon continues to push him, that means he's going
Coxon's driving beautifully right now. He's just, the car's tracking fantastic through the S's. He's definitely on a mission.
I think in his case, then it will have been with the repair. It will still have been driving a little bit differently, and just took him a few laps to find out where the limit is for the car now. Now that he has that limit with him, he can go nearer it, so to speak, and get a bit more pace out of the car again.
Yeah, Coxon's definitely on form right now, looking really, really solid. Tim Hill is probably going to have to put up a good fight to stay on the podium.
Ooh. Not a close call for me, pardon.
And meanwhile, the gap for the lead is about the same, so Canola really just needs to cruise home. Although a great effort by Juha to keep going in spite of having a damaged car.
Oh, for sure. He's definitely done. I think everyone who finishes this technically has done the drive of the day, but the guys at the front who has been driving such consistent lap times is really, really impressive.
Brian Janik has his icon for the pit stop signal, but maybe that's just the crew getting nervous. We'll have to watch what happens.
We'll see.
No, now the icon is off, so probably it was...
Okay.
He called it off.
Alright, so forget
I'm
about
still
that.
wondering about Cesarius. And Jason Whited, man. I mean, he must be really, really at this point angry with himself not being able to close more on Brian Janik. That's the course for Tantalus. I think it was the classic Greece.
Well, he's got an evil
character.
handling car. I mean, it's he's not only having to battle Brian, he's having to battle the car too.
Yeah. So it's interesting that at this point of the race, you got Tim Hill in striking distance of Richard Coxon, Brian Janik in striking distance of Jason Whitehead, and Cesarius in striking distance of Little Al. After all the safety lap, nearly.
And Coxon definitely has Tim Hill in his sights now. So 4 laps to go now. 77, 78, 79, and 80. In what has been a very exciting race. We hope everyone's been enjoying it.
White did biting the teeth and trying to make an effort to get closer to Brian Janik. He's really, really pushing it, going very close to the walls, getting closer to Brian. Now comes the hairy section. There he glances the wall again. Oops.
Ooh.
What happened there to Little Al?
There's a part on the back side of the course. Could it be Little Al's?
Well, there's a bumper on the exit of turn
Yes.
1.
Yeah, Little Al's lost his front bumper, so apparently he had an incident somewhere. Not sure where this...
He went on 2 wheels on the end turn.
Oh, no.
Oh, and ended up with nowhere to go then.
Oh, Hell Corner is where it happened, yeah. Oh, that's too bad. Sausage curb, 2 wheels, into the barrier, lost the front bumper. Maybe, hopefully he can soldier to the end. He was 10th at the time, but goodness, that's not a...
Yeah, but he was catching up with Cesarius, and that's the pity for him.
Yeah, that is a pity.
He's still not that far off from Cesarius, but unless Cesarius has to stop, this is obviously going to be it.
Mm-hmm. And Coxon's still trying to pursue Tim Hilla, but I don't know. Tim's holding his own. Got 15 seconds now is Canola's lead, so he's definitely solidifying what's going to be a very interesting
Jonatan
win.
Entering the pits. Not enough fuel?
Nope.
All right.
Well,
where's Janik at?
I'm not wanting to take the risk.
He's got plenty of space between himself and Janik, so...
It'll be 40 seconds
Mm-hmm.
now.
Yeah, the gap to Janik is 52 seconds last time a beacon was crossed, so we'll have to keep a close eye. Janik entering the chase now, as we see from our chopper shot.
I'm nearly using like a quarter of a liter more a lap here, so that's why I'm deciding to not take the risk and have another pit stop instead.
Coxon's still unable to catch up with Tim Hiller.
Yeah, I know. Really impressive. Tiago dispenses with little Al. And heading down the Conrad Straight for the second. Oh my goodness! Little Al clobbers the wall once again with that car.
Yeah, he was going to obviously try to make it till the end of the race and hope that Cesarius is going to stop, but that's likely not going to be the case. But anyway, going for repairs now, it doesn't really make sense because he's in last position. There's no danger for him, so... Whoops! But that car is really bad handling now.
Tiago exiting the chase, coming down to the final corner, and he's going to start his last lap of Mount Panorama in what has been a fantastic performance despite adversity.
Yeah, and the checkered flag can come quick enough for Brian Jennick, who is suffering all the pressure from Jason Whited there.
I don't know. He's been doing pretty good. I don't know if I'd call that pressure.
So Little Al finally decided to enter the pits because it was obviously too damaged to be safe.
Well, hopefully he'll still be happy knowing that he will score points.
Yeah.
Despite that situation.
What's Coxon signaling? Because he's flashing his lights in the middle of the straight.
I think he's just trying to unnerve Tim Hille.
No, I don't think so.
No, he wouldn't do that.
Well, he is a racer just like us all is, so I wouldn't put it past him to try something like that.
I don't know. It strikes me as a bit out of character for Coxon.
Yeah.
True enough, but a third place around this joint is worth its weight in gold and silver and dimes and everything.
Well, coming on to Conrad now for the final time is Tiago Canola. Last week, victory in the Trentonian 200, driving a 2-year-old Eagle for the Fletcher team. Today, in a very different scenario, driving a Nissan.
With his lights again.
I don't know what that's about.
Maybe hitting the wrong button. I don't know.
Maybe.
Anyways, Tiago Canola about to win this Bathurst race.
Well deserved, and shows that he's good in just about any vehicle. Checkered flag about to come out for Tiago Canola, who wins the second round of the Lucas Vidra Trophy. Fantastic result. Driving the Gary Rogers Valvoline Cummins Nissan.
Coxon there hitting the walls also.
Juha exiting
with the spot with the headlights.
Juha takes second place in his Peugeot. A great drive from him considering the car is damaged. Oh my goodness! Tim Hille has crashed! No!
Oh.
Tim Hille has crashed the BMW at the top of the S's. Unbelievable! He's trying to get it back going again. He's still in fourth. He could still finish in fourth. Coxon elevated to third.
This is incredible.
Unbelievable! Let's take a look at a replay of this. What happened? He's coming into... My goodness, could it just be loss of concentration in the final lap?
That damn curb. It was the curb.
It was the curb. My goodness, the car actually flipped over, but he was able to get it righted again, heading now down Conrad to finish fourth, but my goodness, that's really unfortunate. Kind of spoils what would have been a fantastic podium. But still, a fantastic drive today from Tim Hille. Coxon coming around now to cross the line in third place. Perseverance paying off for Richard Coxon. Tim Hille coming down now to finish in fourth. The top placed BMW in this race.
Still a great drive, just
yes, still great.
That it ended up the way it did in the end.
Here's Steve Parker And hats off to him, soldiering on in a car that is crabbing all over the place.
Well, all the cars that finished today, they really did a great job, because
Yes.
this was a really exhausting race.
Here comes Parker into the final corner to finish 5th. There it is. And Jonatan apparently has already finished 6th. Janik has also finished 7th already. Whited 8th. Schlapinski 9th. And Little Al rounds out the top 10. So what a fantastic race. Exciting, many twists and turns, literally and figuratively. And I believe we're joined by Juha Boss in the booth. Juha, congrats on 2nd place. And for an amazing drive, considering that the car was damaged.
Well, I did one thing right, crashing it. I bent everything except the steering, so it still went like I did before.
Okay, well, there you go.
I have no idea how I managed it. Maybe a bit of understeer, but it was okay. I think Tiago was a lot quicker, though. I didn't have his pace. I don't know whether it was fuel saving in the end. But anyway, he was quicker.
All right, guys, please excuse me, but I have to go now. It's a bit late today. So
all right.
Might see you later, but at this point I have to go for supper. It
All
was
right,
always great fun to be with you. I ended the race here in the broadcast booth, as was to be expected, but anyway.
All right, well, thank you very much for your expert commentary, Alberto. Always appreciate it. And have a good supper.
Yeah, see ya.
User disconnected from your channel. User was moved to your channel.
And we're joined by the winner of round 2 of the Lucas Vidra Trophy, Tiago Canola. Tiago, fantastic drive. Early on, you had a bit of adversity with an incident at the chase, but you came back from that. How was the drive for you overall?
It's exhausting. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. Yeah, I don't know what happened between me and Dave. I think he missed his braking point there, and there was a small tap from behind, and I spun and damaged a little bit the car. So just put my head down. Okay, let's keep going. It's a long race. So I start to catch up some guys, and very nice overtakes, very incredible overtakes in the end of the straight. And when I got close to Juha, I knew it would be very, very hard to overtake him. And I decided to anticipate my pit stop so I could do the undercut. And it worked in the end. Yeah, everything worked out in the end. Very happy.
So this is 2 wins in a row for you. Last week with the Indy cars at Trenton, and this week with the Tin Tops down under. So says a lot about your versatility as a driver.
Yeah, you need luck too. You know, a lot of very talented drivers in the league. Sometimes 2 wins in a row happens, but you need a lot of luck too. Like I had in the last race. When Dave had a problem with Yuka, and I overtook both, so was lucky. Was very lucky.
So talking about next week, actually, we go to Mexico for the for 1991 F1. Any thoughts on that? Very different challenge from this, obviously, but you're going to be driving the Lotus. Any thoughts on that race?
Yeah, it's a very different situation there. My car is it's very compromised. It's a good handling car, but it's a very high-speed track. I hope I just can finish the race. I think there will be a lot of retirements in this race. I think if I finish, I'll be in a good position, hopefully in the points.
And Jonatan, any closing thoughts before we leave this broadcast?
Well, that everyone, at least that I was near, did a very good job in keeping it a clean race. I mean, we had a couple of incidents early on, but I mean, that's to be expected around any track. So everyone did a good job keeping it clean. The racing, from what I heard and what I saw, was really good. Big congratulations to everyone who finished, and complete brain fade. Tiago, Juha, and Richard for their podium and wins, and obviously Tim Hiller for a fantastic drive to finish 4th.
Yeah, I think Tim Hill's drive really impressed everybody today. I think it says a lot about his abilities. Obviously, he has to deal with a lot with that Modena in the F191 series, but this definitely this was a great drive from him. Any final thoughts, Juha, before we close out?
Well, I really enjoyed this race, and congratulations, Tiago, for winning it. You had the pace. You were quicker than me, so well done.
All right, and thanks to Jonatan, who hung with me in the car and gave me very much appreciated information about this race and the particulars so that we could describe it as best we can to you. I really appreciate his help. Thank you, Jonatan.
You're very much welcome.
And thanks also to Alberto for joining us in the booth after he left the race. His commentary is also very much welcome. And we hope that everybody at home enjoyed the race here on our ISO YouTube channel. Next Sunday, we will see you for the Mexican Grand Prix. It'll be broadcast on this station. We'll go in the air at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So this is Jason White saying so long from Mount Panorama.